Go.
All right, folks, this is Tom. I'm here with Dennis. This is Tom Cook with Dennis Crowley. And 4th of July weekend, and we know what that means. It's News Draft Football Ratings, and we're here for the ratings preview show. And Dennis, we're going to look at all the 6s and 5s, and everyone's been waiting all day for this. This should be very exciting, right, Dennis?
We have no ratings.
Oh, no.
The ratings Nazi has come to visit us, and so we do not have the ratings to talk about. This would have been a perfect time for me to do a podcast. So Tom was gracious enough to come up with the idea of doing an SSFA's playoff preview show. So we're going to talk about SSFA. We're not going to talk about the ratings. We're not going to complain and whine. Like we really want to do, but it would have been really nice to have the ratings out. Let me just say, I would love to have that web page up and be able to talk about the numbers and go over all my teams and plug those numbers in, but it ain't going to happen, Captain. So, Tom, what do you feel about it?
Well, Dennis, I was hoping against hope. I called Stratomatic this morning, and the woman on the phone told me that I should not hope against hope. Told me that as far as she knew, it was definitely not coming out today, and that news was met with a mixture of disappointment and near riotousness on the Strat fan forum, depending on where you fell on the spectrum. I mean, look, I think last year it did not come out before the 4th either, right?
Correct. It came out on July 6th last year, which was after the 4th of July holiday.
July 6th, that last year was after the 4th of July. Now this year, Dennis, will July 6th also be after the 4th of July?
That will be after the 4th of July, yeah.
And I'm going to go out on a limb. I think next year, July 6th, will also be after the 4th of July holiday. That's what I'm banking on that.
The sad thing to me is I just kind of think like they're like, it comes around, they're all looking forward to their 4th of July barbecues, and then they get these phone calls. They get a call from a guy named Tom in New York. They get these emails and they get private messages. Oh yeah, that's right, the ratings. We should be putting them out soon. And then they said, okay, we'll do it right after we get back. And then they put it together. That's the feeling I get. I have no concrete information that's what's happening, but I just don't think it's a priority, and I don't think it's really ever been a priority. But before, what was it? James Williams? Is he the one that worked on him? He seemed to always have them out on time. These new guys, I don't know about these guys. Come on, Mr. Guzzo, what's going on?
I don't remember when James retired, and but I think we're in a new paradigm. We're in a new era. We're in, and I guess the ratings will probably be coming out after the 4th of July regularly now, and we're not even promised that they're going to come out on Tuesday. I mean, it could be possible they don't come out this entire week. Now, I tried to ask, I kind of asked the woman, who seemed like she knew what was going on. It wasn't like she didn't know what was going on. As soon as I asked it, she knew exactly what I was talking about. She immediately told me that she'd been giving no indication they would be released today, and gave me the impression that she would have been given that indication if they were going to be released today. And I said, so it'll be after the holiday at a minimum. And she was like, well, look online, look on our website for more information. So it didn't. I was not encouraged to think that on Tuesday, July 5th in the afternoon, or even Wednesday, July 6th, that bang, they're going to be there. I'm fearful that it might not be until July 8th, or maybe even the following week. I don't know. We'll find out. I mean, it's possible that they're not ready. Not fully ready. That's always possible. I don't know who's in charge of disseminating them now.
Well, I don't think it's possible that they're not ready. The play testers are play testing the games, put together for the most part by now. I don't think they're still coming up with the ratings, right?
Well, no, but having them in a file ready to be released to the public, that might not be done.
Right. That's what needs to be done, and that's what I think they've kind of forgot about and said, "Oh yeah, everybody's kind of expecting this, so we'll do it. We'll put it together first thing when we get back from the holiday." That's what I feel.
I hope so. I mean, it had become a tradition that was cherished on the forum. You'd get the whatever that last day of business was before the July 4th weekend, you'd get the draft football ratings out. We with us doing shows now, that we were going to do whatever we could to do a show, even though it's 4th of July weekend, on the new ratings. I might have done a mock draft, for some IFA. The forum would be ablaze with posts about all the new ratings, and it was real exciting. So even its second year in a row, it has been very, very disappointing not to get it. And we were hoping last year was a blip, but we're hoping this year's not a new trend. Maybe we can I don't know, try to talk to Glenn or try to write some letters or some emails and maybe stress to Strat how important it is to the football online community. And maybe they can make an effort to get it out next year before the 4th. That's, I think, the best we can do now. There's no use crying over spilled milk.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with guys complaining about it, and not guys. I think we're complaining more about not getting the information or not knowing. Yes, it will not be out today. So hopefully, all we can do is hope in the future for better and maybe work to get better. Maybe write some letters or some emails, or letters are probably better. I don't know. Who knows?
I think that they're like I said, they kind of have put it on the back burner. Maybe we haven't communicated properly how much we look forward to them, and we just gotten used to the old way that they used to do it. Now, 2013 and 2014, they put out on the StratoWire a list of important summer dates. They haven't done that. They didn't do that last year, and they didn't do that this year. So somebody who used to do that made it their priority to put those out. That person's either gone or it's no longer a priority. And to be fair to Strat, they did have their new baseball daily game this year. They had a documentary that they put out. So this isn't really on the and they changed marketing people. We saw Adam.
Yes. I think we should blame the new guy. That's usually a good strategy, I find.
But again, I talked to Dan. I asked Dan, "Hey Dan, do you know when they're coming out?" Days ago, and he says they'll be out next month. Thanks, Dan. Next month, so sometime in July we should expect them.
Well, Dan, okay. Well, we're teasing Dan. Dan's new, so we'll find out about that. Yeah. But if it's next month, I don't know. The forum might the Strat forum might be set afire. It might be a rise. It's gonna be like the Tigers won the World Series in '84. Is that when the cars? Is that when when the first ones when all the cars started going on fire? That's gonna be the Strat forum.
Something's gonna burn.
That's gonna be the football section of the Strat fan forum. If these things don't come out until August, it's gonna be a wasteland.
No, but when I had asked him, it was June, so he meant July. So that's all. Okay. Not like a month from now, but next month. So
yeah, all right. Anyway, well, obviously we're disappointed about it. Let's
you get what you get. You don't know
it. We need to try to communicate with Strat on this so that next year we can get this out earlier. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I would say we should put an online petition together, but I think we'd only get about 53 guys on it. I'm not sure how much influence that'll have in the halls of Strat. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's worth at least talking to them, telling them that this is important to us. So.
Yes, we'll start an online petition, and then when we see how dismal the turnout is, we'll go in a different direction. But yeah, we have to communicate with them. It's something absolutely. But now on to that was old business, and as Groucho Marx would say, now into new business, the SSFA. Okay, and we are here to do an SSFA. I'm glad you got the right trumpet because it was pretty disappointing when you were gloriously trumpeting Strat not releasing the ratings because you can't figure out which one has got the look. Look, the one has got the.
No, that was intentional. That was not a mistake. I wanted to express our disappointment.
No, earlier we were talking about being unhappy about it, and you went and you. Yeah. No, but in the middle of that, you gave one of these. In the middle of us talking disappointment first round, you give it a positive trumpet.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah, the sad one is the one you want. This one.
Yeah, that was just.
And look at the icon of this, which no one could see. The sad one is probably a Trump.
Got it. I just like to practice all this stuff.
The sad one is Oh boy, you do not have a future in sound engineering. the sad one is a trombone. That's a trombone. The other one is a trumpet, and
it's not really even a trumpet. It says trumpet, but it's like one of those,
whatever. It's good enough.
Yeah.
And see, it's angled upward. It's showing the enthusiasm. Okay. The other one is definitely a trombone. The trombone is a trombone. That's for sure.
For sure.
All right. So on to the SSFA. Interesting. Now, did you bring up on the screen? Who's screen sharing now? Me or you?
I am. I set up you to screen share right now.
Okay, great. Now, I want to bring up the predictions. Oh wow, it looks like we had a playoff game play, but SSFA draft talk. What about trade talk? Interesting. Why SSFA draft? That's from.
Oh, because I was. Dan bumped the thread talking about Terran Armstead, and so I went back and looked at my draft from that year, and it was terrible. And then I bumped up the draft from the other year, where I actually did some good things. So one's from 2015, one's from 2014.
I see. And we had a show, maybe it was a mid-season show for SSFA. Yeah, there it is. And that's what we had not done a preseason preview for either of the two. I'm looking at SAMHSA. We had to do an SSFA preseason show. Do you have anywhere a list of our predictions for SSFA?
I do.
Do you have it with you?
Yeah, let me pull it up while you show the standings and talk about how the season ended. Then we'll go back to our preview.
Okay, well, it would have been helpful if I brought up Ed's standings, as this show is quickly.
Okay, so I have the predictions and the standings up. All
right.
You're still screen sharing though.
As this show crawls to a halt. All right, there we go.
Talk about something else while I keep.
Consider the lilies, how they ponder in the field. All right, hold on.
I thought I had it, but I don't have it.
Very disappointing. It might be in a forum thread. Anyway, oh wow, these standings still have a to-be-determined tiebreaker between the Falcons and the Jaguars. With your Seahawks, the number 1 seed? What's going on here? Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Just wound up with a bunch of other.
I'm very disappointed in that news. But
why? Do you have one of my picks?
No, but you're 16-0 in SAMHSA, and in SSFA. I think when I look at the standings, you were having a very good year, but for the most part, you were 3 in the 3, 4, 5 territory. We don't need you ascending to the top here. So, how about a little bit of a letdown, perhaps, but which would not have been a letdown for this team at all. But SSFA this year was an interesting year. A lot of real good teams. We all know the story. I broke up my team. I had a lot of good players on it, and it seems like all the good teams have got like 1 or 2 of my guys on them. You got 4 teams finished 13-3: the Seahawks, the Falcons, the Jaguars, and the Raiders. Then the Rams came in at 12-4. The Cardinals 11-5. Texans 10-6 with a strong fourth quarter, I believe. Saints 10-6 with the good job that Michael Reeves was praising Scott for doing. Is that NFL at 9-7? That's a disappointment, I'm sure. Green Bay 9-7. Green Bay in the spring. That's Randy, right?
Yes. Green Bay is Randy. Yes.
See, we either did a mid-season show. We did something where we did predictions for SSFA, and I know SAMHSA we did.
Yeah, I don't see it. I looked at my predictions.
You were probably supposed to keep track of it, and you probably botched it because you're not good at keeping track of things. I don't know. I don't know how you're an IT guy and you're a computer guy, but like you never seem to have your files organized for like the shows and the predictions. I got all my stuff. I've got an SSFA folder that has every season of the SSFA has its own section. And then in there, you've got like a league file section, a pregame file section, a stats for shows section, of course, my spreadsheet section for coaching, and then you've got like, I don't know, nothing. I'm like, what kind of organization is going on over there? Now you're more successful than I am, so maybe I need to become less organized. I don't know.
Maybe so. That would be a good thing. And there you go.
You have to find these SSFA predictions.
They are not there.
It must be done.
Okay.
Did we didn't do it. Did we do an SSFA preseason show?
We did not.
You're positive?
Positive. I have our SOMSFA predictions, but that's not going to help.
Those will not be helpful tonight. I agree.
Unless we switch this to a SOMSFA show, I'm ready for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have more to there because this has to be. It has to be somewhere. SSFA quarter poll as a Michael Reeves post. SSFA midseason show. Maybe it's.
Well, I would think
normally you post in those threads that we had the Matt Prater show, the Matt Prater edition. So with Mick, I'm sure knows all about as his kicker on his Falcons went 13-3. But you had to keep track of that, and you didn't. I guess I don't know. Well, it's a disappointment to it. This is almost as bad as Stratton not releasing the ratings today. Anyway, okay. Because then we can't talk about
I will find it. Just give me a second. You talk about other stuff. Let me find it. All I care about is how right I was and how wrong I was. I don't actually care about the SSFA, do I? No, teasing. And one of the reasons we're doing this show, and as most people know now, because I posted it in Somifa, I'm getting married in 2 months. Yes, congratulations.
Thanks. And as I said, I'm going. Yeah, I was actually heading to that.
Hold on, I have an idea that I think will work, but I'm going to mute this. We should be able to pull up the mid-season show, fast forward to the end, and I should have a screenshot of it up here at some point.
That actually might work. I thought for sure that Dennis was going to say he's going to listen to the mid-season show while I was doing this show, and then he would keep track of it as we went along. But you may have posted it somewhere. I doubt we screenshotted it though. Just my own guess. But I guess we'll go on to this now. SSFA, what is probably is one of my favorite leagues. Obviously, I'm in 4 leagues, but SSFA is probably the league I've had the most success. It's a league I got to put all my theories into play in completely from scratch with my team, so they didn't have that awful period that my Somifa Jets had for many years. And I had a lot of success in this league. This year I broke up my team, but I'm glad that we're getting to do a show on this. But Seahawks, Falcons, Jaguars, Raiders, all 13-3. A lot of interesting statistical stuff that was going on here this year. Dennis's teams always seem to do well offensively, and the Seahawks had the number 1 offense in the league at 30.8 points a game, 3.5 points a game ahead of the number 2 Denver Broncos. And if you look at point differential, a lot of people historically and year by year will tell you that point differential correlates to victory, more win-loss record, more than any other football stat, maybe even more than turnovers, I don't recall. But Jacksonville, Oakland, Seattle, Atlanta are the top 4 in point differential and the top 4 in the standings, so they're all 13-3. And I'm a little rusty with SSFA, probably because my team has been getting hammered all year. Thankfully, that's over now. But Jacksonville plus 202, Oakland plus 186, Seattle 166, Atlanta 124, and St. Louis was 12-4, right behind at 119. So you see the point differential in our strat league was correlating very strongly with the top 4 teams. And how about this job some of these defenses do? A lot of people talk about how hard it is sometimes to play defense. Jacksonville Jay giving up, the defending champion, by the way, at my expense, giving up 217 points. And Oakland gave up 230. And I'm going to start with Jacksonville then and look at them. Nothing against the number 1 seed, Mick, but and it'll be very interesting. I mean, all these teams are good. The team's got Carson Palmer, a quarterback. He's got that low turnover card, got a good card. They got C.J. Anderson. They got Denard Robinson to spell him. They got excellent pass blocking, which usually has 4.7s, and then a 4.5, some decent run blocking. The 6'7" left tackle, a 6'7" center. So he's linebacker and I don't know if tackle well. Blocking back only a 4, so that hurts when he goes to the blocking back. He's got Calvin Benjamin, Julian Edelman, Antonio Gates. He's doing a nice job scoring over 400 points. Of course, the defense helps when you are getting good field position and presumably turnovers and things like that. Jay plays a 4-3, which is interesting. Well, yeah, he plays a 4-3 that's 6'6", 5'5" on the defensive line with pass rush of 12-9, 12-9, even a couple low rushers in there. Then he's got a linebacking crew that goes 4-6-5 against the pass, which is much more important, especially in a 4-3, I believe. 4-6-5 against the pass, 5-0-6 against the run, which gets a good run defense. And even got a very good blitzing outside linebacker, 12-7. There's corners of 5-4, safety 5-6. So 4-3 strong run defense, a good pass rush, spearheading this defense, and the middle linebacker 6 and a 4-3. But I don't think anyone would have guessed this team to give so few points. 217 to be the number 1 defense in the league, which is outstanding. Let's see how he did that. If you look at team defense, actually by yardage, the Raiders, I think that is Ron Dickinson's Oakland Raiders, and Ron has been a defensive wizard as of late in these NFL-led family of leagues. But Ron was number 1 with 270 yards allowed. Jackson was number 2 at 293, just ahead of the Falcons. And then for the first time, we have a point a plus-minus thing here. Jackson plus 13 in turnovers differential, Oakland plus 12. And Oakland, again, even though I said Jackson was number 1 with the point differential and with the fewest points allowed, Oakland was right behind them. So it was 217 points allowed for the Jaguars under Jay Villing, and 230 points allowed by the Raiders under Ron Dickinson. So 13 points over 16 games, not even a point a game. And these 2 teams did a hell of a job. Interesting. We had some discussion about sacks and defense with Nathan after one of our shows. I think after the Psalms show, Nathan tends to get a lot of pass rush and blitz a lot and use a sack as a strong defensive weapon. And I maybe underestimate the influence of pass rush at times, as I've always seemed to be more critical of his defense, I think, than their performance tends to be. But looking here, interesting to me that the top 2 defensive, the 2 dominant defenses in the league, Jay only had 21 sacks, and Ron only had 15.
Wow.
So that's no, this is wrong. This is the wrong column. That's interceptions. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
sacks are in the H, I would guess. Opponent sacks.
Yeah, you got it. Okay. So so there you go. Jay had 44 sacks, a very healthy number, which you would expect because he has good pass rush on the defensive line and kind of Bowen, and Ron had 30. So interesting, you know.
Look at Nathan with 63.
Yes, well, he now I forget if it was this team or his Samto team that had like 45 through 8 games.
Yeah, it was this team. So I think he was going for the record with his team. Yeah,
and I don't know if he got it or not, but obviously he had only 18 in the second half. It's not a bad number, but when you have 45 in the first half and 18, obviously that's a big drop off. And I think he started losing more games. I don't remember if this was the league where he was 7-1 in the first half, and then ended up 12-4 in this league. Maybe it was 7-1 in both leagues. I forget. One of these teams was. I think the teams ended up with similar records. Nathan's SSFA and SOMSA teams, both very good records, both playoff teams. Both teams had a lot of pass rush. But I think one of the teams was a lot better than the other team. I think maybe one of these teams was 7-1, one was 5-3. I don't remember, and I can't remember which one. And of course, we won't know because you don't have the. You have not found that, have you?
Nope, I don't have it. I have, but I have. I guess I never saved it because I have it with me capturing it just at the start, and it's empty. So I'll have to go back and listen to the show. And I looked at the broadcast and I was sharing your screen the whole time, so it never comes up on my screen.
Yeah. All you need to do, Dennis, is go into My Documents, create a folder called SSFA, create a subfolder for the season, and put your stuff in there, and then you won't lose stuff.
I put everything in a folder called League Spreadsheets.
Yeah. Apparently that system is not working well for our purposes right now. But so I was starting with Jacksonville J, even though Mick is the number 1 seed. No, you're the number 1 seed. Okay. Just because I was very impressed with the plus minus on the point differential for Jay is just crazy. Plus 202 points. And also, and the defensive jobs that him and Ron did are crazy. 217 points allowed for Jay, 230 for Ron. Okay. And
that's playing some good defense.
And a distant third is 284, which is a good number, 284 in this type of era, in this type of league. But these two guys did a tremendous job in defense, 217 and 230. And that's very noteworthy to me, just because a lot of guys struggle to play defense in this league and in this environment. I was looking over Jay's team. He's got the 4-3 defense, 6-6-5-5, with a very good pass rush on the defensive line, 4-6-5 against the pass at linebacker, 5-4 corner, 5-6 free safety. But I don't think I would have predicted this team to be the number 1 defense in the league. Those 4-3 defenses, we talk a lot about how we like the 3-4, and the 3-4 is the way to go. Those 4-3 defenses, if you got 5s and 6s on the defensive line, and then usually they suffer with pass rush, but you got 5s and 6s and you got this kind of pass rush, those defenses can be very tough to run against. And then he's got the 6 middle linebacker against the pass, so people don't want to throw at that. So he can play it pretty well, and he likes to play his 4-3. So tremendous job by Jay there. And he's got Carson Palmer and J.J. Anderson leading the offense. And we'll go to Oakland, they're the strong defensive team. Then we'll round out the 4-13-3 teams by looking at your team and Mick's team. But the Oakland on offense, they got Big Ben. They got Mark Ingram and the excellent Robert Turbincard and even James Starks to chip in at running back. 3-7s. We were talking about the pass rush in that thread with Nathan, and I remarked that I felt like when you get deep in the playoffs and you're going to play a big game, that you tend to run into teams with a lot of 7s on the offensive line, and I feel like that mitigates the impact of the pass rush in let's say the Final Four of one of Ed's leagues, and you're going to have a harder time getting to those 4 and 5 sack performances that you really help you and really get you going in the regular season. And here we see the first team looked at Jay at 4 7s, and this team's got 3 7s. So I'm not saying so I think that might be one of the reasons why I underestimate the impact of the pass rush. I do think that I've seen a lot of teams that don't really have great defensive personnel with a lot of 4s running around. Dan, I think, famously had a team like that in SSFA last year, but they have good pass rush and they blitz a lot. And I think those teams really outperform what you would expect of a team with a bunch of 4s,
Yeah, it's the style of play aside from the personnel. So it's the way you deploy those pieces. And yeah, they can definitely exceed your expectations.
Yeah. So I think that may be a way to go for a team that's got a good offense and not a great defense. Just try to develop a lot of pass rush, which might be easier to get than trying to get a bunch of 5s and 6s. I don't know.
Could be.
So, and this Raider offense, you got Big Ben, the guy that liked to run blocking, a 6 at right guard, 5s everywhere else. Vincent Jackson, Marcus Wheaton, really, as a starting receiver. Jason Witten. So you guys get by with stuff. Now, again, he plays a 4-3. So, but these 2 dominant defenses this year were 4-3s in SSFA. And this one goes only, Terrence Knight was a 4-3 guy last year, yeah. This one goes only 5-5-5-6. on the defensive line. But again, if those 4-3 defenses with fives or better, the defensive line can be pretty good against the run. They can be a little tougher to run against.
He's got a double barrel sixes at cornerback. He's got great pass rush at linebacker. So he's not just depending on that defensive line to generate pass rush.
No, that's right. Yeah, which is good because they don't have a lot. But he's got 5-5, 5-6 on the defensive line. He's got 4-5-6 at linebacker. Okay. See, when you play a 4-3, I feel like if you have at least one linebacker who's a 6 against the pass, it is incredibly helpful because you can flood those with the two flats with your free safety a lot more easily. Guys can throw a flat at a 6 all day as far as I'm concerned. And as a defensive coach, I'm happy that the offense is doing that. Based upon my spreadsheets, that's not a great play for an offense. And he said, like you said, Dennis, which was good of you to notice, he's got the double barrel 6s at corner and a strong safety 5, so he can be very aggressive with his free safety. He's only a 4. Jaquan Jarrett, and bringing him up, so you can bring him up and blitz Justin Houston, or a bit more frequently, he's bringing him up to flood the left linebacker, middle linebacker zone, because guys are looking at this defense and they're saying, "Well, I'm going to attack the flats, I guess." Now he didn't have a lot of sacks, even with Justin Houston's presence. I don't think. Let me look at this again. We were looking at. He had 30 sacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is not a bad number. It's actually 8th in the league. Okay. Wow, it's fewer than 2 sacks a game is 8th in the league. So,
Yeah.
which is not a bad number, but it's not a dominant, like, big-time defensive number. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
You know, but, I mean, he gave up only a 63 passer rating, only 162 net yards against the pass. Now, against the run, it's interesting. Jacksonville gave up 128 yards a game, only middle of the pack against the run. 128 yards a game with a 5.3 average allowed, okay? Oakland gave up 108 yards a game with a 4.5 average. Oakland was 3rd against the run. But against the pass, they were 1 and 2. So again, with the modern era, if you want to play real good defense, you got to be strong against the pass. You know, you got to play that pass defense. So these two teams, this is by quarterback rating. They were 1 and 2 by opponent quarterback rating. But even if you look at but they were also 1 and 2 by yardage, because 162.4 and 165.3. And then the Texans under Brad, but 165.8 was right there, number 3. But yeah, the two dominant defenses, both dominated in terms of net passing yards allowed and opponent quarterback rating. And Jay had a good pass rush, a very good pass rush, was 3rd in the league getting the sacks as well. And Oakland was great against the run. So interesting job with these guys. Now let's look at your Seahawks.
Yeah, I was able to, the reason why I am the number 1 seed is because I was able to beat both Oakland and Jacksonville in close games. I only was able to put up 21 points. My team led the league in scoring, but against them, I struggled to score points, but luckily my defense was able to hold them to just a little bit less, 21-19 over Jacksonville, 21-7 over Oakland, and I was very lucky in that Oakland game. So you could easily have seen one of those two teams being 14-2.
And your team 12-4.
Right, exactly. So,
all right. So looking at your team, you got Russell Wilson, of course, a quarterback. Now, were you excited? Now, I know in the past you have told me that you were not a big fan of the NFL Top 100. I like the NFL Top 100. I'm not going to say it's 100% accurate. But I do think it's getting better and better every year, actually, in terms of what the players vote on. But I like it. You know, I think they know. When they play against these guys, there are all going to be some glaring omissions or some surprises at times. But we're happy that Russell Wilson is in the top 20.
I didn't even notice where he landed. But the thing that I don't like about it is that I hear players all the time saying, I never saw a ballot. I never got to vote on it. So what they do is whenever an NFL player will go to the car wash or go to the NFL headquarters and go through their different shows, they ask those players to give them a list of their top 20, and then they compile those lists.
That was a rumor, but that's not my understanding, because they're like some guy in the 49ers was like, it might have been Navarro Bowman, or not him, maybe somebody else. It's like, maybe it was him, I don't remember. It's like, I've never seen a ballot. I don't know anyone who's seen a ballot. I don't know who's voted. But then like other guys like no, we're on the same team as him and we did vote, and we're not guys who went to the studio. So
Okay. Well,
I think
I would value their opinions if they were all participating. I just don't think that's happening.
well, yeah, but I think the NFL says about half the guys vote. I think the NFL says, which is, if you're going to look at we're a democracy and how many people voted in even a presidential election or whatever, that's fairly representative, I think. So I mean, you do come up with some surprises, I think, on how Carson Palmer is number 12 this year.
Even among players, you're dealing with a lot of popularity contests, guys who are liked. I don't like that guy. I'm not going to vote for him. So I don't give a lot of credence to it. It's all right. It's all right. But I don't. I've never watched the show. I've never sat down and watched the NFL Top 100. I don't know exactly how they put it out. I'll wait till they finish and put a whole list out. But it's clickbait. It's a video clickbait for their network. That's all it is.
Well, I disagree. I think it's outstanding. I really enjoyed a lot. I don't think that the ratings are always the best. I like the players need to put a little extra emphasis on who scores a lot of touchdowns. There's some stuff that's downright shocking, like Carson Palmer being number 12 this year, or Josh Foreman being number 11 and being above all of other corners, although it's close. But the 2 or 3 minute segments they give you in each guy, and the highlights they show of the guy, and the way the other players talk about him, and you see it, and you see what he's doing, I think are very helpful in terms of really seeing how good a certain player is with certain things. Like you can really see, look, we all know Joe Thomas is supposed to be great, but when like a new offensive lineman makes the list or a new defensive lineman makes the list, and you see him in action, it's like, oh wow, this guy is really this good for this reason, which I find helpful. You know what I'm saying?
Sounds good.
And also interesting to me when a guy puts up a big stat year, and the league, his fellow players recognize him, that and if I like the guy especially, then I'm like, okay, good, this guy is for real. Like Allen Robinson is number 30 this year. He wasn't on the list of all last year, which surprised me that even though he had a really good year, that a second-year guy would get that much love from his peers. And DeAndre Hopkins was like number 19 or number 20 or something like that. So I don't know. So I like it for those types of reasons. And I think it's enjoyable and entertaining, and much better than just clickbait. I tape it. I tape it every week and then I watch it.
Where did Russell Wilson land?
I think he landed either 19th or 20th.
Well, they're getting closer. One of these days he'll be in the top 10, and then maybe I'll look at it.
He probably should be a lot higher. He probably should be at this point, 7 to 17 or something like that. But I do like that it's not, overly quarterback, running back laden that way. There's a lot of defensive guys on there and ugly guys, as this big uglies or whatever, that seem to get just as much love as anybody else, which is good.
Yeah.
But there were a couple of real shocks this year. It's funny in general. I think the list this year is a lot better, but there were a couple of really bad ones, like Carson Palmer number 12. They have Carson Palmer ahead of both Russell Wilson and Big Ben, which I think is crazy, especially after what he did in the playoffs in their loss. He was terrible. And Josh,
they don't use playoff stats. Maybe they're like Strat. They're only regular season.
And then they had Josh Norman over both Patrick Peterson and Richard Sherman, which I think is crazy.
Wow.
Anyway, all right. So the Seattle Seahawks, the SSFA Seahawks have Russell Wilson. He's certainly a top player on your team, Dennis, out in our league. I didn't know you had Terrence West.
I do.
I was about to say, like, whenever you can't get Marshall Lynch, you always have Frank Gore. But then I saw the secret weapon. This year's Josh McCown, Terrence West. So how come you got Frank Gore number 1 on the depth chart here, Dennis?
I don't use the pro set. Go to the.
Well, I'm in the blocking back now.
Oh, well, I don't know. I use the 2 tight end set. Check that one.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. And Terrence West has been lighting up all the leagues. He's a key player on my Samsung team, even though you tell me I should use him more. But anyway, so you got Russell Wilson. You got a couple of 7s there. You got 6s on the left sides. You got a strong side. You got 5 at center. Your pass blocking is okay. Otherwise, you got Terrence West and Frank Gore, which is nice.
Yeah, so you
got Michael Floyd, Martavis Bryant. You got Jimmy Graham. Unfortunately, you also have Luke Wilson holding you back, but that's okay. You got 3-4 defense. You got you got 5-6-6 defensive line. I was talking about the 4-3. That's gonna be those tackle sixes are tough.
Yeah.
5-6-6 defensive line with some nice pass rush lines as defensive ends and a 6 at nose tackle who's going to bump up when you're blitzing. Arm of this team, you got 6-6-4-4. So you got 2 linebacker sixes against the pass, which is real good. You got some nice pass rush from those guys as well. You got Jason Worlds as the 44-11. He of the infamous Bobby Wagner attempted trade last year. 5s at corners, 6 safety, 4 strong safety. So it's interesting. It's like the difference between like the 5s at corners and maybe not having any 6s at corner seemed to be maybe what's holding you back from that Jacksonville Oakland level this year on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you did fine. You did fine. You were 5th in the league in points allowed at 20.4 points a game. But, you know, these guys were like 13.5, 14.5. And also maybe they were more conservative offensively, maybe playing that type of thing overall. I don't know. But I'm
never looking at that stuff when I'm playing. You know,
no, of course not.
If I have a big lead, I'm letting guys get back in it. Where if I was really worried about the records, and I'm not saying that Ron and Jay are doing this, but I don't really care about where I wind up as far as, I mean, maybe I should be more like go all out all the way to the end, because usually for me, I'm just like, you know, once I know I'm going to win, I don't care what you do. Go ahead and have fun a little bit.
Yeah, well, I doubt that. I doubt the guys are trying to clamp down even more for all 4 quarters. You know what I'm saying?
They're not scoring quite as much. They have to clamp down more.
Well, they had a better point differential, so they're leading. So they're on average they've been leading by more than you were, or at least as much as you were. You know what I'm saying? It's all close, but no, I don't think anyone's really playing for those type of. No one's playing for team defensive point records. You know what? When they're coaching games, guys are coaching to win the game. You know, but I do like. I know, like you in the past, you like have said stats are for losers. I do like the team stats. I feel like the team stats are pretty representative, more than like, hey, my receiver had a great year, my running back had a great year. I kind of like them. You know what I'm saying? But like you say, you're scoring a lot more points, so you know you're gonna give up some more points in the same scenario. Like if they're winning 23-10, you might be winning 30-17. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know. So although your Sansa team, of course, is doing amazingly on both sides of the ball. So, but I'm just saying, look at a reason, mathematically, why a defense that looks otherwise fairly similar to those two didn't perform quite as well. Even though the defense did fine. I'm not trying to criticize your team, Dennis.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, again, it goes back to the style of play, where even if you have 5s or 7s, I'm blitzing a lot, and I think I'm getting burned more maybe because I'm doing that. Whereas I know Ron, for example, is very conservative.
Yeah.
Like to the best, where he's not exposing as many holes. I like to go big or go home, and a lot of times I'm giving up big plays because of that.
You did it, and you had 49 sacks, which is the second highest number in the league. So maybe we need to take a page from Ron and go more conservative. And look at the job Ron did. And Ron did this last year. Tremendous numbers. I don't know. I mean, I agree with, I don't know. I don't like the blitz as much as you do. I am trying to generate more pass rush nowadays than I used to. I don't believe in standing around and doing nothing, that's for sure. So I don't know. I gotta research some of these scouting tendencies of Ron and Jay and see what they're doing and see if I can incorporate that and play better defense myself. But 13-3, and like you said, you're number 1 in the league in offense. Well, you know what is the defense always seemed like more of a challenge to guys in strat, and particularly in this era and in these leagues. So I'm just intrigued to see you guys doing a tremendous job there. They had the number 1 offense in the league, 30.8 points a game. You were surprisingly only 6th in yards per game, but part of the reason you did so well is you were number 1 in the league with 20 plus 21 in the turnover category by far. No one else was better than plus 14. Now you forced 40 turnovers. Yeah, now let me ask you, as a coach, what do you accredit? Now look, offensive turnovers. You know, you have a fairly low number. You got Russell Wilson, you got Terrence West, you got guys that don't turn over the ball a lot. You know, so that makes sense. You know, and style of play can factor into that. What do you point to on defense for as a reason why you got so many turnovers?
Well, it's just luck. We know that you can go. The big thing is it's good to have a low turnover quarterback. Wilson only threw 11 interceptions, but my opponents wound up throwing 26 interceptions. That's just dumb luck. I mean, they're landing on 9 a lot. They're landing on 7 when they go deep. They're throwing to the guy I have doubled, and it's hitting 11. That's that you can't really duplicate that.
You were number 1 in the league in opponent interceptions. Part of that is you're playing with a lead rather. Part of that is you have a real good run defense. So guys are maybe going to try and throw more. But I've seen you have a big takeaway number like that before. So I think maybe you're double teaming it more accurately. Maybe you're flooding the zone more accurately. There's something going on there. Beyond the dumb luck that you're talking about.
Here's the fumbles is total luck because I fumbled it 15 times. I've lost half of them. I've lost 8. But my opponents fumbled 21 times, and they've lost 14 of them. So when you recover 2/3 of your opponent's fumbles, that's going to boost your differential.
That's true. Okay. All right. But a strong club on both sides of the ball, very good team. Again, just like all the teams we're looking at so far. Now, Atlanta, Mick, a team I remember – I know we did predictions because I remember talking about Mick's team. I remember we both liked his team a lot. Matt Prater be damned, okay? And again, I'm pointing out, you told stats of losers. Top 4 teams in point differential were the top 4 13-3 teams. And number 5 was Nathan, who was 12-4. So that point differential really, really shows a lot. A lot of people think it does think that it does historically, And plus minus on turnovers, you were 20 plus 21. The other teams that we're talking about right now, Jacksonville was plus 13, Oakland was plus 12. So 3 of the 13-3 teams are good. Atlanta was only plus 1. Okay. And St. Louis was actually minus 9, which is surprising. He had 39 giveaways, which we'll have to look at when we get to his team.
So that to me tells me that when it comes playoff time, those guys, might perform better than you expect just because maybe the turnovers are even out a little bit in a short sample size.
Do you think that? Yeah, I think that maybe Mick and Nathan maybe get some turnover breaks in the postseason after not really getting in the regular season, and maybe Jacksonville or Oakland or yourself doesn't have as strong of a performance. Now the dice may have the memory, but a lot of things do tend to even out in the strategy. It seems like so that could be something to watch for. Interesting with Mick. He only had 13 turnovers, which is like number 1 in the league.
Wow.
But he only had 14 takeaways, which was like dead last in the league. Fascinating.
Interesting. I don't know what like I said, you can't really tell what's going to happen in the future, but yeah, the fact that he's such a low turnover team, that bodes well for the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm just confirming those numbers.
Breeze, look at that, 7 picks only.
Yeah, Drew Brees, a quarterback, 7 picks and 476 attempts.
And that's another reason why you have low turnovers is if you have a guy who's going to force other teams to call run, you suddenly go from a 2 through 7 pick chance to a 2-3 pick chance.
Oh, absolutely.
Those are the kind of things that, look at this. He has Marshawn Lynch there. Everybody's calling run, and Breeze only throws 7 picks on the year.
He ran the ball 529 times against 476 pass attempts. So he was literally running more than throwing. And throwing a ton of flat passes, too, because Breeze completed 66% with only a 6.7 average gain. So I bet you look at his averages, only one guy over a 10.2 average, which is Calvin Johnson at 13.8. So,
yeah,
which makes sense because when you have a great running back and you got Drew Brees, that West Coast game is pretty strong.
Yeah.
What's nice is with a quarterback like Brees, you can throw in all 3 levels. So if guys are going to try and sit on you with 8 men in the box, and bring the safety up to stop the flat game, you could definitely throw your short and long passes and take your shots downfield. And of course, we did all this despite the presence of Matt Prater, 15 of 23 on field goals, 10 of 16 from the 30 to 49. I think we have spent enough time talking about Matt Prater on these broadcasts, but since we're talking about mixed team, but yeah, it's interesting. You may remember a couple years ago when I first started getting a spreadsheet happy, I was all like, oh, pass, and I put up these huge numbers with Peyton Manning in SSFA. I made the Super Bowl and lost. Of course, last year was a great team anyway, even if I didn't put up those great passing numbers. And I had that Andrew Luck Jet team and Somifa that didn't have like any kind of running game and threw the ball all the time and was successful, even though there's no FPR. But, you know, I've come around more back in the last year or two to where anyone who's a good coach is where in these look, if you're not playing FPR, if you're not playing flat passes runs, and this is pretty much a Somifa / SSFA audience, so they know that we don't. They know what we play in Ed's leagues, which is not FPR. You do have to run the ball. You have to run to set up the pass. You have to have that balance. You got to generate run calls, or you got to be able to make the guy pay if he's going to concede the run to you all game long. You know, and I'm sure you prescribe to that wholeheartedly. Correct?
Absolutely. And one other thing before we get off, we're still on mixed team, but he has that Stedman Bailey card. So even though he hasn't had great success in the turnover differential, having that Stedman Bailey card is such a nice weapon. I have him in SSFA, but that can really change games around. I don't know how many touchdowns he's gotten, but
yes. Well, we'll look at we'll look at that in the stats in a minute. As a matter of fact, I can click on Stedman Bailey.
Yeah, so he had three touchdown returns.
He had 11 punt returns, 3 for TDs, just like in the NFL. Dennis, where Stedman Bailey was one of the most feared. Oh no. He only had 1 return all year last year. That's right. Good job by Stroud on that. But look at that mixed team. We'll look at that offensive line. And Mick was a guy I made several trades with. He's got a number of ex-Jets. He's got Marshawn Lynch. He's got Evan Mathis, who had a cup of coffee with me when I thought he was going to be going for it. He's even got Owen Daniels, who was a long-time guy on my team. He's got Mario Williams, I know, that I traded to him. And that's about where it stops. But that's pretty good. He's got 4 guys there. I don't know how Mark Barron is on his team. I guess he wasn't on my SSFA teams. He's been on all my other teams. But you got Marshawn Lynch followed by Matt Forte. So that's nice. You got Drew Brees. You know, it's a shame. You look at these 4 teams. We've had this discussion many times. And I'm like, I look at these 4 teams and you see all these things are good. The quarterbacks and the running backs and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, someone's going to get a big injury in the playoff game. You know, and Lynch is going to go down, or someone's going to go down, and they're going to, you know, maybe have their season come to an end, or have to really struggle to try to advance. And I don't know, these teams are so good this year in SSFA. That's the real good teams. I just hate to see that happen. We'll find out, I guess, in the coming weeks. Hopefully, it doesn't. Of course, Dan won that playoff game after Aaron Rodgers got injured last year with Case Keenum coming in, but. That was a bit fluky. That's not going to happen too often. Look at this linebacker game he's got. He got 6'7" to center and both guards. Zeb's got to be salivating if he's listening to this show. But Marshawn Lynch,
he pounded the hell out of me. He's one of the 13-3 teams. He's a 13-3 team that I lost to. He
31-28 in the first quarter.
In the first game of the year. So he's got a heck of a team, and I could not stop Lynch in those situations. His longest run was 21 yards against me, but he just kept hammering him and picked up first down. So.
Well, Lynch has a great card. Lynch has the type of running back card that you want, you know? I mean, you know, he gets it done right and wrong. He gets positive yardage. He has short gains on wrong. You know, he doesn't have as many big runs as, like, you know, that's what holds this card back from maybe like one of the great Adrian Peterson type of cards. But you got a little bit of it. You got +79 off tackle 2 and a +21 here on 3. But that's just, you know, this is the type of card that you want. Look at that off tackle. Look at off tackle 6 through 12. 8's
right.
-1, but +2, +5, +4, +5, +3, +7. You put a guy like this.
Balance that on 4th and 2 with Drew Brees' card, or 3rd and 2.
And this interior line.
Exactly.
You know, so but you know, and like we know, I had Lynch and I traded him away, and now he's retired. So I'm glad I did. You know, but you could see why someone would pay the price for him, especially when you have Drew Brees. The Golden Tate and Calvin Johnson at receiver. So Daniel's a very fine flat pass type of tight end. If he plays 2 tights, you got Brandon Pettigrew, who's not that great, but he's okay as a second tight end. So tough offense to stop. And you like we talked about the guys who are the masters on defense. You're like the master on offense. You seem to always like lead the league in scoring in all these leagues, and where Atlanta I thought was going to be up there. A lot of guys scored 400 points this year. Wow, I didn't realize that. You had 9 teams scored 400 or more points in SSFA this year, including a club like Kansas City. We don't get Aaron Rodgers. Okay, so Mick was only 8th, tied for 8th with Kansas City, 408 points. I would have thought that number would have put him higher. On defense, he was 3rd. I'm underrating the Falcon defense, which you haven't looked at yet. Number 3 in the league, 17.8 points allowed per game, and he was interesting. He was only 17th in opponent passer rating, but he had 40 sacks. So there's some fodder for the argument about how important pass rush is in these leagues. He had the number 1 run defense in the league in terms of yardage allowed, 105.8, average only 4 yards a carry allowed, which is actually excellent in this league because, as you see, everyone else is pretty much like 4. Most of the league is like 4.5 or worse. Yeah. So nice job there. We haven't even looked at the defense. I'm pretty sure it's a 4-3.
Yep.
And he goes, it's another 4-3. So we got 4. So the top 3 defense in the league in opponent scoring, which is the most important category, right? You want to hold the guys down to as few points as possible. Each played a 4-3 defense. So he goes 6-6-5, but he goes 5. Sorry, I got that wrong. He goes 5-6-5-6. So if you got a 4-3 with all 5s and 6s, they can be tough. 5-6-5-6 on the front 4. Goes 4-5-5 at linebacker, which is not that great. He's got 6-5 at corner. So again, he is a corner 6. I think you're the only team, unless I'm mistaken. I don't remember about Jay. You might be the only team of the 13 and 3s that doesn't have a corner 6. And your defense was not as good as those 3. So it's interesting. And I've told you from my numbers, I love those corner 6s. They really do a good job. And even if you have 1 corner 6, I feel like, I can double team the free safety. And he's got a strong safety 6. So, yeah. I mean, you can pretty much never double team your tight end and flanker and let his free safety double on the split end a lot, let him come up into the flats a lot to help where he probably needed the help. So, it's always interesting to see these defenses because no one's got a defense where like every position is a 6 pretty much, unless you're like Autumn Wind and put together some hellacious team, or whatever. I mean, you can get close or whatever, but so everyone's always got these things they need to coach around. That's what I was like looking at the season previews, looking at that type of thing. But and that's a lot. That has a lot to say with how your defense performs. Is what do your personnel kind of make you have to do?
Right.
I mean, Mick's got the option where it's like, all right, he's kind of weak at linebacker against the flat pass, maybe, but he can bring his safety up a lot. And these 2 guys are 5s, which isn't awful. But that's what you're looking at when you're coaching against this team. When you're on offense, where can I attack him? So, not a lot of room there for attacking. So, a very fine job by Mick, and he was also one of the 4 13 and 3 teams, and top 4 in point differential, which is really illustrative. They did 4 teams 13 and 3, and they are the top 4 in point differential. And right behind them, the only 12 and 4 club, I believe, which we've mentioned them but haven't looked in them, is Nathan's Rams, 12 and 4. Okay. Very nice job. Was 5th in point differential, very close to those 13 and 3 teams with a 119 point differential, plus 119, whereas Mick was only 124. The other guys were a little higher. Nathan likes the big play offense normally at the number 5 offense in the league, 26.3 points a game. Number 5 scoring offense in the league. And he had the number 4 scoring defense in the league. So a very balanced unit. 18.9 points a game allowed. Was -9 in turnovers, which is going to make me run to his
Joe Flacco, 20 interceptions did not help.
20 what?
Joe Flacco's 20 interceptions did not help his cause.
Yes, no, they would not. But that's what I was going to say. I'd be looking at his stats right away. Of course, he had 34 touchdowns and 8 average gain. Nathan likes to throw downfield. We know that.
Yeah.
Oh, Jamal Charles and look, Nathan always has great receivers when he's going for it. Jordy Nelson, I can tell you, was the leading receiver in. I didn't do it here, but I had another file I was looking at earlier. But He was the leading receiver in terms of yardage and touchdowns in Somifa. He had 1185 yards, 18.2. Now it's interesting in these leagues, the running backs put up crazy numbers. DeMarco Murray, I think, broke the SSFA single season rushing record in 2,000 and over 2,700 yards, which is like, Madden-like and unfortunate that we end up with some stats like that sometimes.
Look at the fumbles lost for Jamal Charles. He fumbled it 9 times and lost 8 of them.
So you're talking about the bad luck. That is bad luck. I mean, if you lost 5, then he gets his turnover differential down to -5. So the picks for Flacco are a little bit of the go deep, of definitely the go big or go home strategy there. As Deshaun Jackson averaged 18.9 yards a catch, and Jordy Nelson at 18.2, and even Jordan Cameron at 15. Now Jamal Charles ran for 2,000 yards, 2,025, and a 5.7 average. Flacco threw 34 touchdowns with 20 picks. So this is a very dangerous team.
Very dangerous.
And let's take a look at the personnel. You got Flacco, right? And you got Jamal Charles. You got 3 7s on the offensive line. You got 3 6s on the offensive line. With unfortunately 2 4s. It'd be great if one of those guys was up. Forget if they're both 5s, but whatever. Jamal Charles, Jordy Nelson, Jordan Cameron, Deshaun Jackson. And Flacco's got a pretty decent card. Not a great card. He's Joe Flacco. He's not Tom Brady.
Right.
He's got a decent card. I can see this card, though, having some misses and frustrating Nathan in the playoffs, possibly.
Or coming up big. He hit some receiver readings on the defense, and Nelson and Jackson.
Well, that's what he's going to go on. Yeah, so probably, if you're going to play this team, you might want to leave your free safety home and not give him extra receiver readings. That's the thing about low pass, no men. You get a lot of extra receiver readings on there, it seems like. I don't remember the math, but I think there's quite a few more there. Flacco's only 6'12 deep. So, I would have thought he did better, but Nathan is probably setting up the play action with Jamal Charles. He's playing a 3-4. Nathan is, I think, usually a 4-3 guy. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But he's got now Vince Wilfork is coming from a 4-3, right? Yeah. So he's got a 4-5-5 on the defensive line. He's got 4-5-4-5 at linebacker, 4-5 corners, and 5-4 safeties. I remember us having this discussion that he said I was not that thrilled with his SSFA defense, but I was overlooking the pass rush. And he's got a 12 at the right end spot. He's got an 8 at the left end. You got outside linebackers 11. I'm still not in love with this defense, Nathan. I'm sorry, but I think he's done a great job. I think you tell me Joe Flacco. I know you got Jamal Charles, and you have a running back. Dennis, you said it last year, and I think I agree with you now. In Ed's leagues, especially 2014 league. Give me the great running back card with a decent QB over vice versa.
Yeah, for sure. And Nathan has 4 guys with double-digit sacks. Of course, with 63, that was going to happen. But he is really spreading it out. Trent Cole has 12. Peppers has 14. Jason Pierre-Paul has 15. And Croy Bierman, if he was in a contract year, he'd be getting a nice big fat deal because he wound up with 10 sacks as well.
Now this is interesting. Nathan's spring teams went kind of the opposite direction. It looks like this was the team that was 5-3, and then he won 7 of his last 8 games to go 12-4.
Nice.
So the other team I think was 7-1, and they might have ended up like 11-5.
Wow.
And that was the team I would think he plays the 4-3 where I was worried about him getting West Coasted. But it's interesting because with Nathan's style. And this is a defense I think that is being really helped by his aggressive blitzing style, because I think in the hands of a less aggressive defensive coach, this defense would struggle a lot more.
Yeah.
So again, I think that style gets the most out of a team that has a lot of 4s and 5s running around. I worry about that style, especially in a 4-3. If you have mostly 4s and 5s, look, if you have 6s, you're fine. But if you have mostly 4s and 5s and you have a 4-3, I worry about that style being able to get to the Super Bowl in one of Ed's leagues. But I could be wrong about that. We'll see. So he'll have every chance to prove it this year. Go ahead, Dennis.
I was going to say, this is such a refreshing change from most leagues, and some people is similar too. I don't want to just single SSFA out. But you have, we just went through the top 5 teams record-wise, and
Yes.
you can see any one of those teams winning the league. And not only that, but you have 3 more teams that have double-digit wins. So as we go through them, it's just like the balance in this league is crazy good.
Yes, and I'd like to take some credit for that by breaking down my team and spreading my players out all over the place.
Good point. Good point. Let me give you a round of applause.
I'm very impressed with the way that it was something I was listening to one of our well, we haven't done a show in a while, but one of our shows from a couple months ago. I was listening to it recently, and I told you that what you have to do is you got to realize that you're going to say something, and then kind of like prolong it and set it up while you get ready to click, and that's what you just did. So well done, Dennis. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good job. Well, I was going to say good job anticipating it and then getting the right thing done. But I do feel like Ed's leagues do tend to have 3 or 4 teams at least every year that look real good, and that you feel like these teams are so good they can win it. Now I do think I want to give Nathan some props here because I think personnel wise,
that's a scary team.
I think personnel wise, he's got Jamal Charles. I keep forgetting. I think I like the other 4 teams better, and by more than 1 game. I think so. I think especially because of the defense. So I think he's done a great job.
Yeah.
To end up only 1 game behind those other 4 teams, when some of those teams look like they might be a little better than this. But again, that great running back helps so much, and the tremendous job he's done at defense. I'm sorry, go ahead, Dennis.
I say it's not only the great running back; it's the great running back with those receivers. You have those 3 guys, Nelson, Jackson, Deshaun Jackson, and Jordan Cameron, have such high averages on their cards. So when you have to call run to stop Charles, you're going to get dinged, and you're going to get dinged over and over again. So that's what makes that team work.
Yes, but probably the biggest single factor, putting that team at 12-4, is the job Nathan has done with the defense. I would not do it. I just know with myself. I would not do as good a job with that type of defense as he did. Number 4 in the league in scoring, and fewest points allowed on the strength of all those sacks. And this is a team with a -9 turnover differential. So a tremendous job with him with the defense, I think, and knowing how to use, knowing how to use the pass rush. And the pass rush is not even that dominant on the team. You got a 12 at right end and 2 outside linebacker 11s. But you looked at like Jay's team with the guys on the defensive line and stuff like that. It's not that type of. And I got 8 with Coy Bierman, and he's getting bumped up because Nathan's blitzing. I know, but tremendous job. And I think I like this defense in some ways better than his Samsung defense because it's a 3-4. So when he wants to, he can he can flood flats, or he can double on this 4 more often or whatever. And there's more flexibility in the 3-4, which I think is one of the reasons we always like it. But no matter what happens in the playoffs to this team, I think he's done a great job with it on defense, especially. And moving on down, and we're not going to go through every team, but we'll certainly go through the winning teams. Arizona 11-5. Kurt Slopers, I'm guessing by this, I don't know. Find out. Now he's had a renaissance. He's a renaissance man. I forget is he in Somifa also, or is he just SSFA?
Just SSFA, I believe.
But I think last year might have been his team with Robert Griffin that might have made the playoffs, or like came from nowhere and was like 9-7, like with a team that quite frankly wasn't very good on paper. You know what I'm saying?
Just to make it clear, Kurt Retzloff is his name. Kurt Slopers is K Slopers is his instant messenger name.
Okay.
So just we don't want him to think we're calling him something else.
Yeah, I knew there was a Kurt Retzloff, but yes, like you said, I wasn't sure.
He's on the list in Somifa, but he is only in SSFA right now.
Okay, but I think that his
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I take that back. He is Denver in. He's not Arizona, but he's Denver in SOMSPA and Arizona in SSFA.
Okay.
He is in the 2 spring leagues.
I feel like I'm confusing him now with someone else. Is that because Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, he won a championship in SSFA in the early days.
Yes.
Right, but then it was he had some lean times for many years, and became sort of lost in the background of SSFA with a team that was near the bottom of the standings quite a few times, I think, or certainly not in the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, like last year, out of nowhere, he he did a great job overachieving with his team. And isn't this a team also that was supposed to be awful?
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
had, we had talked about this team on the mid-season show, and we're like, how is this team 6-2? And then we went through it, and I had predicted it for 10-6. I think you had predicted it to finish 10-6, or worse, or maybe 11-5. I don't remember, but he still kept winning, even despite his personnel. He's coaching them up.
Yes, I'm looking over this, and wouldn't it be great, Dennis, if there was some magical way that we could have kept track of those predictions and know exactly what they were? But I'm going overboard with that. Overkill. This would be the beating the dead horse icon on the forum. But yeah. Quite frankly, this team is terrible. Okay, this guy goes 11-5. If we had a Coach of the Year trophy, he'd probably get it. Oh, that's right. Although Michael's already given it to Scott at 10-6, so we could have maybe they could duke it out. We'll see.
The controversial, and not only the personnel, but he had a negative point differential, -3 for and then he still wound up winning 11 games.
Yes, as he should have a negative point differential. With his team should be even worse. He's got Sean Hill, who Nathan was trying to trade, and was chagrined he couldn't get more for him. And I don't know if Kurt traded. I don't know if that was in this league. Might have been a different league, but he's a flat pass maven.
Yes.
And that usually works when you have a running game. This guy's got Daniel Boomherron, Isaiah Crowell, Stephen Ridley, and Roy Halou. All of whom actually have decent little cards. Like on Raw, they're not awful, but I doubt any of them cracks NFL Ed's top 20. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
I don't know if they ever, and two of them at least can't catch. You just got Brandon LaFell, Jeremy Curley as his wide receivers. The offensive line is I think disgraceful would be the right word. No. The offensive line is not as bad as it first looked. Okay, but he's got two zeros run blocking. He's got a 2 pass blocking, a 4. He's got his pass blocking is 5.5-4-4-2. So that's bad. Now Sean Hill was a flat pass pavement, so he's not going to kill you as much. But this offense is dreadful. This offense looks like my winless Jets offense. Only he scored like 140 more points than I did.
Amazing, Kurt. Well done.
So he gives him a plus. Number 11 in the league in scoring at 22.6. I don't think his defense is too hot. 3-4 defense, maybe a lot of pass rush.
He was shut out. He was shut out twice this year, 31-0 in the second quarter. So
this defense is terrible. The 3-4 defense, it was 4-4-4. Then 4-4-0-6. Now, it does help when you play 3-4 and you have 1-6 on the outside because you can play games there, okay? But then he's got no pass rush either, really. So forget about, those dreams, okay?
He was 10-2. 10-2 entering the fourth quarter.
Well, I'm not gonna bust his chops and finishing 11-5 because this team should be about 5-11 at best.
Right.
And he's got all fours in the secondary. He's got a 3-4 defense that goes 4-4-4 in the defensive line. He's got no pass rush. He's got fours all over the secondary. He's got Sean Hill and Daniel Boomherron as his starting guys. Doesn't have much of an offensive line. He's got Brandon LaFell and Ricardo Lockett. Now, he better have the best special teams I've ever seen. He's got Mika Hyde to return punts. It helps. Bad opponent kick returns, bad opponent punt returns, shaky kicker. Well, I'm sorry. I have to say I'm sorry, Scott. I'd have to look over your team, but I'm going to rip away your Coach of the Year trophy that Michael Reeves gave you, and I'm going to give it to this guy. This is one of the greatest coaching jobs of all time.
Amazing.
Not since Wayne won the Snarl Super Bowl with the late '60s St. Louis Cardinals team. Those teams weren't awful, but they were far from the Cowboys and Colts and Rams and stuff like that, and all the other teams from that era that were good. This is just an amazing job. I don't know what else to say.
Yep.
I hope, I mean,
And unfortunately, it's going to come to an end in a one and done, I think.
it may come to a very unfortunate and horrific end.
Yeah,
But
because
no,
he's playing.
look, even if he loses 41-3 in the playoffs, I mean, come on, this job is tremendous. And what did he do with the defense? Look at this, come on. Number 9 in the league in fewest points in number 9 in the league in opponent yardage.
Incredible.
Number 9 in the league in opponent yardage with that terrible defense. That was, look at this, 6th in opponent passer rating. He had 23 sacks. You probably got more sacks than you think for that group. 6th in opponent passer rating. Only give up 182. Maybe guys weren't patient enough running the ball. 182 passing yards a game. Against the run, he was 17th in yardage, 146, and a 5.4 average. And that's the key. He's got to be patient enough to run the ball against him.
Yeah.
And I remember playing him and thinking I could have beat him. I think I played him. And my team couldn't run the ball. But I know he sat back and got past. They beat me 27-21.
Amazing.
That might have been a close game. I know one of my rare chances at a victory. I'm sure everyone wants to see the box score for a Arizona winless Jets game from the first quarter. But
you had a shot there. You were within 3 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I was down 24-21 early fourth quarter on the strength of an Andre Williams run naturally. Of course, my offense was just awful on this team at 236 yards, which is probably a typical performance. Derek Carr averaging 3.9 average gain.
Crazy.
So, but hey, Kurt, what can we say? Tremendous job. Now you said it may come to a crash again. He's playing who?
He will play, depending on the tiebreaker, he will play either Atlanta or Jacksonville in the first round.
On the road.
On the road, yeah. So he's going to come up against one of those elite defensive teams, averaging either 13 points a game or 17 points a game. But maybe we should sell him short. He's gotten this far.
I'm going to go ahead and say we should sell him. We're not selling him short. We're calling it. I think bluntly. Kurt knows. I remember him posting during the season on the forums and the threads. He knows that his team has done a miraculous job. And I think when he lines up with Sean Hill and Daniel Boom Heron against these other teams, he's going to be like, oh, okay, well, it's been a great season. Let's see what happens. But obviously, it's going to be hard for him. But no matter what happens, it's a tremendous job.
For sure.
Now the 7 8 seed, as we only have 4 teams left who are in the playoffs. And by the way, we've got 10 teams in the playoffs this year. So you got 4 buys, right? And no, I got wrong. You got 6 buys. You got 6 buys, and then Kirk got a buy. Kirk got a buy with that team.
Oh, okay.
I look when I got a buy with that Jet team with all the 4s on it. But Kirk got a buy with that team, and you got 4. See, now Brad's going to look bad because we just looked at Kirk's team. They went 11-5 and got the buy, and Brad's got a good team, and he came back from 3-5, I think, to finish 10-6, and we said he might do that, and he did. He's 10-6. I'll tell you, a lot of star power in these wild card games. You got Kurt. You got Brad with the Texans, and Tom Brady, former SSFA champion, against Randy's 9-7, and Randy's become a good coach and pretty feisty. They got the Saints with Andrew Luck and Scott, who's a former Sabifa champion, against NFL Ed 9-7. So some interesting matchups there in the playoffs. So let's look at the Texans, who are 10-6. And they were number 6 in the league in point differential of plus 96. And I'm pretty sure he started out 3-5, Dennis.
Yep, I have that up here. He was 3-5.
3-5. Yep, it was 7-1 in his final. And we knew he had a weaker schedule coming as a good team. Went 7-1, and the one loss was by 1 point. Okay, he did win one game by a field goal. Otherwise, he won handsomely pretty much the whole second half of the season. Look at some of these scores.
He lost to the Arizona team.
And this team. Go ahead, Dennis.
I was just saying that we were just talking about Arizona. So he part of
and that's why
was tripping up against Arizona and giving up 38 points to that Boom Heron led offense.
Yes, yes, and that's the difference between Brad now playing a wild card game or having a bye. So we'll see
Right.
how much that hurts him. Number 3 offense in the league in scoring, 26.9. And defensively, number 7, 20.9. So nice job there. This could be a team, I think you spoke about it when we did the midseason show, that's going to be like a 7 or 8 seed or whatever, that no one's going to want to play.
Exactly.
Now we're not going to you can't assume he's going to win his playoff games. He's going to play against Randy. Randy's got a pretty good team and has done a nice job coaching. So that'll be a good game, I think. But if Houston advances, one of those 13-3 clubs is going to see him and might not be that happy to see him. He's got Tom Brady. He's got the all or nothing. See, the adjusted Forsett card. We don't like the card to use it really, or I certainly don't. But it's also a scary card to play against.
Yes. You hit a couple of those big numbers, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and he shifted. He was struggling with Forsett and shifted to Chris Ivory more. Remember, he posted on that after we spoke about his club during the midseason show. So Forsett has hit the bench now, 474 yards, a 3.5 average for him. And he's switched over to Chris Ivory more often. He's got 1,200 yards and a 5-yard average. So that has worked out well for him. And he's got the line. See, he's got 2 7s, and he's got a 6, a bunch of 5s, and a 4. So you've got Tom Brady quarterback. You can run with Chris Ivory behind a line like that.
Yeah.
Then you got Marcus Colston, Sammy Watkins, Andrew Quarles, so a pretty decent offense. I like the Brady-Ivory combination with that offensive line.
Yeah, if you're going to have a 3 pass blocker, you want him at right guard. He's got him in the right spot.
Mm-hmm. That's Brandon Linder, who missed his second season with injury, but had a very good rookie season, so he could bounce back and really help this offensive line. In the future, he's got David DeCastro backing up.
And
he can pretty solid. Say what?
He can even bring him in on third downs.
That's right.
When you don't care about the run block rating.
Yeah, so just play him in general. You can make it all good. Play a 4-4 right guard over 5-3. Either way, I probably the 5-3 depending on the matchup. Surely against a 3-4 team. 3-4 D.
At a right guard spot, especially.
Yeah.
He's a tackle, 4-4-4.
Yes, absolutely. And even then, you got to cross your fingers. He plays a 3-4 defense, and he goes 6-5-5 at the defensive line. He goes 5-6, 5-5 at linebacker, and they're pretty much all good against the run. 6-6-4-4. He's got some pass rush there with a line that goes 10-7-8. Outside linebacker 5-12-6. That's a very good front 7. He's got a 6-5 corners. I traded him Kareem Jackson, I remember. He's got a 6 strong safety. He got a 4-50. This looks like a great defense.
Yeah, a lot of talent on that team.
Absolutely. Number 7 in the league, probably could have done even better. I mean, if I would have put this team, I'm not insulting Brad. I'm just saying to show the job that Jay and Ron did. If you'd stack up this defense against Jay's and Ron's personnel, I don't think you're going to see enough difference to say that Ron and Jay should dominate more. Yep. And Brad's been successful. He's a former SSFA champion. So this is a very good team, and you're not going to want to see them in the playoffs. And we're going to skip down and do Randy's team down since he's playing him in the first round.
Yeah.
I think that's a good move. Now Randy went 9-7. He had, I think, a tough second half. 1-2-3-1. This team was 6-2. Right. It looks like, right? Randy was 6-2, and then he was even 8-4. He split the third quarter. He was 8-4. Then he dropped 3 of his last 4. Lost to NFL by a field goal. Lost to Miami. That's Bob, I think, right?
Yes.
It was only a 6-10 team. Lost them 23-17. Lost to Buffalo. That is Michael Reeves' team, who's making a name for himself with all the commentary and the writing, the threads, and the SFA, which we're glad to see. We love his enthusiasm, and he did a nice job as a first-year coach. Lost to that team 24-14, and then beat Kurt's team by only a field goal. So Green Bay's been struggling. Now, I don't think this is actually a great team personnel-wise. I think Randy did a good job, did a great job to get them to 6-2, and 9-7 is still a solid performance. Point differential. Now you're getting down to a 9-7 team. A -4 point differential overall. You had the turnovers. I don't think he has a very good quarterback. Maybe that Nick Foles card. Plus 10 turnover differential was pivotal for this team in the regular season.
He's done a really good job drafting, and I think that he'll bounce back once he gets that quarterback situation squared away.
Yeah, which can hold you back. And let's face it, I think we all felt that after Nick Foles had the 27-2 year, that at a minimum he would be a solid NFL quarterback. Didn't you? After that one great year with Philly, didn't you think, yeah, Nick Foles would be at least pretty solid?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at that, our valuations change so quickly, but he's on the outs now with the Rams, obviously with their drafting of Jared Goff. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him cut loose somewhere, land as a backup, and get another chance as a starter at some point down the line.
I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. I would be surprised if he succeeded in that role. I mean, he might catch like a good strat card, like Matt House, like as a backup who plays 200 attempts one year. But Chip Kelly saw something there, and that's why the second year in Philly it didn't work out, and they got rid of him, which people were surprised at. Then he couldn't even keep the job in St. Louis. Yeah. So it will be a backup. Someone give him a shot because of what he did, but I don't think he's ever going to be a good NFL quarterback anymore. And I think a lot of people agree. It's a couple of years now since he's had that one good year, and there's enough tape out there. I think that he's just not that good. But personally, I could be wrong. I was terrible on quarterbacks in the past, so we'll see.
Yeah, but look at Nick Foles' stats for the Packers.
Real quick before you do that, number 6 defense in points allowed in the league for Randy. Good job. So good. We're good. Talk about the stats.
Well, just look. I mean, this is not a good Nick Foles card, but look at his stats. He actually has gotten him to complete 63% of his passes,
nice.
23-9 touchdown interception ratio, 91 rating. He's had a heck of a year. And Le'Veon Bell's card is not the elite card that it could have been. It's a good card. It's a great card, but I would still expect that Nick Foles performance to be a lot worse, and he's done really well with him.
You said that was a great card. You don't think that's really a great card, do you, Le'Veon Bell?
No, it's not. You would expect it based on the stats and the NFL stats, but he did not get a great card.
All right, but so how did Randy do it? How did he get these numbers out of Nick Foles? He ran the ball 579 times against only 413 passes. I think I remember playing Randy with my terrible Jets team, and he was just very patient, pounding the ball on the ground. And so Nick Foles is throwing guess wrong most of the time. I can't say most of the time. He's throwing guess wrong more often than a lot of other guys. He's threw a lot of flat passes because he's only averaging 6.3 yards an attempt despite 64 completed. And I remember playing again and look at these averages. Andre Holmes 20.2, everyone else under 10 yards, under 9 yards for his 4 of his top 5 receivers averaged between 8 and 8.6 yards an attempt. But it worked for him. And, I think Randy has really become a pretty good guy in terms of understanding what he can get out of his passing game, even when he doesn't have a great quarterback card.
Yeah.
And he'll throw flat passes with guys that don't have great cards. And I think I talked in the past on these shows, and I think Randy listens, that, you can throw flat with these guys. And I talked about even Russell Wilson a year or so ago when his flat card wasn't quite as good. And it's not that bad. Flat pass with these guys against a guy who's not a 6 is not that bad. And Randy took it to heart, I think, with his team. I'm not saying that's the only reason. Maybe just on his own did that, but I'm just saying. I just know he throws a lot of flat passes, and he ran the ball so much. So he found a way, with a bad Nick Foles card, with a decent Le'Veon Bell card, but not very exciting, with a shaky, shady McCoy card. He found a way to do enough with his offense to get them. Now, maybe we're giving him too much credit for the offense. And they were 15th in the league in scoring, so not tremendous. But it was a style, I think, that helped with the turnovers.
He got the most out of his personnel, I think.
With all those flat passing and the running, he only had 15 giveaways, which looks like the third best mark in the league. So you get 15 giveaways, third best mark in the league, and then you have 25 takeaways, which looks like it's probably about middle of the pack, but you end up being plus 10 because you were very careful with the ball, and a lot of that was his coaching, because Nick Foles was hardly a low turnover card, but it was not throwing a lot of. It was running the ball a ton and throwing a lot of flat passes, and that worked out for him. And did a real nice job defense, number 6. Let's take a look at this personnel, which I don't think is that great. 3-4 defense. You see Nick Foles. You got a 7. You got 2 6s at tackles. You got a 5 at center, 4s at guard. The defense was Troy Guion is a nose tackle, thank God.
Yeah.
5-4-5, and then 4-4-6-6 against the pass at linebackers. That helped them a lot, I think. 5 at corners, 4 at safety. Really not a great defense, but you can coach around it some. The nose tackle 4 is a big problem. And yet Randy got this team to be.
It helps that he had 2 linebackers that are 6s.
I guess it passed pretty time.
It's not a strong defensive team.
No, he got them to be number 6 in the league in fewest points allowed.
Amazing.
So excellent job there by Randy. And now they were plus 10 with turnovers. They were 10th in yardage allowed. So you expect the scoring to be up because the turnovers are better. You have the 6s.
That's one of the benefits of running a flat passing ball control type team is that you keep the ball a lot more. So that your defense has helped out because they don't have to be on the field as much. His let me look at that here and find that I wonder what his time of possession was like. Yeah, it seems like he controlled the ball. He controlled the ball more than his opponents, slightly, not much, but slightly.
And he's taken I remember playing against him and guessing pass the whole time. He's taken to heart the idea about shutting down the pass being more important. He was number 8 in the league in opponent quarterback rating, despite not really having great personnel. It's not bad. But he had one of the better marks in terms of opponent yard allowed at 172. That looks like a pretty strong mark. Now, I think last year he had one of the best pass defenses in the league and terrible against the run. I bet you that's the case again. Let's see what he did this year against the run. Yes, look at this. 22nd in the league, giving up 156 yards per game on the ground with a 5.1 average. So it's interesting. You don't find too many guys that run the ball all the time and then neglect to run on defense. Do you think that he's thinking, well, I'm running the ball a ton. The running is important. I can't let the other guy run over me. But Randy's running the ball a ton, but then saying, I'm going to let the other guy run because, my defense isn't that great and I don't want to get killed with a bomb or whatever, for whatever reason. But it's worked for him because I think 9-7 is a good performance for this team. I don't think this is a team that I would have picked for the playoffs. And they started 6-2. So now you talk about Randy did a real nice job coaching this team up. Now he's going to go play Brad in the playoffs on the road against Tom Brady and all that defensive personnel. So, I used to have jet teams like this. I feel like you always want to make the playoffs if you can, and if you're going 9-7 and you get in there, great. Hopefully you don't run into a team like Houston, which looks real strong in your first round game. But anything could happen, and they're going to play the game and see what happens. But it'll be interesting. Maybe they've already played. Somebody played. We'll look at that in a minute. Do you want to give me a prediction? This is one of only 2 playoff games. Green Bay, Houston.
Sure. Yeah, but first of all, we have breaking news on the playoff situation.
Hold on. If it was San Fran, New Orleans, I don't want to hear a score. Did Green Bay, Houston play? Don't tell me the result yet. Did Green Bay, Houston play?
No. I'm giving you breaking news on the tiebreaker to see who's the number 2 seed and the number 3 seed.
NFL, I was obviously sitting in the Google Hangout listening and said, I'm going to now break the news. Unlike Stratomatic, I will respond to the pressure and immediately come up with the wanted news, unlike Strat not releasing the ratings. Go ahead, Dennis.
So the lottery number was 775. So that means Jacksonville is your number 2 seed and Atlanta is your number 3 seed. And how that plays
Well, that was just clapping for the news, not because I care whether Jay or Mick is number 2 seed. But our Jacksonville number 2 seed and Atlanta number 3 seed.
So the round one, the way it works is that whoever is the second lowest winner will play at Atlanta, and then the third lowest Arizona will play at Arizona will play at Atlanta, and the second lowest seed will play at Jacksonville.
So I think so. It's interesting. Mick loses the lottery for seeding, but he got the team that I think anyone would have wanted to play for in the top four. Nothing against Kurt, but I'll take my chances against Sean Hill and Boom Heron rather than one of these other teams. So, but then if they advance, he's going to have to go on the road in the semifinals and play against a good pass defense card. So maybe helpful now, maybe not helpful then. We'll see what happens. Now, Green Bay, go ahead.
Real quick on that, they made a gentleman's agreement before the lottery that if they meet in the semifinals, they will play on a neutral field.
I'm very against that, but only because I like being against things. I can't think of any good reasons. But actually, that's fair. If it comes down to basically a coin toss, play at a neutral field. So that'll be so if they advance.
Yeah,
if there's a Jacksonville Atlanta semifinal, it'll take place in Saskatchewan.
Exactly.
Okay.
The Rough Riders, the home of the Rough Riders, has rented their stadium out for everybody.
Exactly. They have to redo the end zones and make the sidelines a little bit narrower, so that the field is not as wide. But I think they'll be fine. They got to make sure the official score knows that there will be 4 downs or whatever. Green Bay. Interesting.
So Green Bay, Houston, and San Francisco and New Orleans is the
So Green Bay usually they get Darren Sproles returning punts, which is nice. Has a dreaded opponent kickoffs, 51, 49, 44. So I'm going to look at Houston's kick returner in a hurry. Bad punt coverage, gives a ball block too. It's Graham Gano, who's also so he's got a terrible kicker. Yeah. I mean, he's 2-8 and 12, 23 to 32 isn't bad, but when you factor that in with the opponent kick coverage, that's good enough. Of course, it's not. And now Randy's been making the playoffs and competing, but it's not like he was quote unquote going for the year, and this is what he ended up with. You know what I'm saying? So It's like if you're building for the future and still building a team, and you're trying to compete for the year, but he wasn't like going guns blazing for the year. So you're going to end up with things like this. And if he would have missed the playoffs or whatever, I don't think he would have felt too distraught about it because he knows this was not a team that was definitely going for that, so to speak. I'm going to look at that Houston kick returner. After seeing Randy's special team, I'm definitely going to pick Houston to win the game. But I'm going to go with I can't even call some of these games. We'll see. See, this is what I hate, Dennis. He's got Jacoby Jones, 6 is plus 28, 9 plus 27. So in the playoffs, when you have that guy, that's what I'm telling you, even though it didn't hurt you, when you have that kicker with the plus 51, plus 49 opponent kick returns, this guy's going to run. This guy's going to run out every kick. He's going to run every kick out.
You should, yeah.
And probably one of those top 4 teams has got Omar Bolden or somebody, or Josh Cribbs or somebody who's only like 33 yards. They're going to run out every single kick, Anyway, so Houston versus Green Bay. Did they play in the regular season? They did not. Green Bay, Houston scored 101 more points than Green Bay, gave up 40 points fewer, and has home field advantage, and has better personnel. So this is all that looking good for Randy. I'm going to go with a final of, Randy just did a good job with defense. Usually going to run with Chris Ivory. I'm going to say Houston 28, Green Bay 13.
All right. I will go.
And Randy did a great job with this team, but I think the personnel matchup is too much here. Randy did an excellent job getting tonight at 7. But go ahead, Dennis.
I'll go Houston 35, Green Bay 20.
So we both like Houston big in that game. Okay. Now looking at the last 2 teams, the other 2 wildcard teams, New Orleans and San Francisco. New Orleans was perhaps prematurely given Coach of the Year award by Scott, who overlooked Arizona's performance. By Michael, sorry. New Orleans is Scott. This is a team building for the future. You got Ryan Tannehill. You got Trey Mason, Kerwin Williams. That's right. I looked over this team a lot after Michael made that post. Got A.J. Green, DeAndre Hopkins, Zach Ertz. So good skill guys. Got 2-7 to the line, but none at left tackle. 2-5 run blockings and some 4s. So decent offense, mid-level offense that can do some things. 3-4 defense. That goes 5-5-5, 4-0-4-4. He's got the dreaded 0-0 inside linebacker. Of course, I had like 4 of them, but that's in the story. 5-5-5 and then 4-0-4-4. He goes 5-4 a corner, goes 6-5 at safety. Not a great defense, but again, the run defense is helping, and he plays a 3-4. You look at the point differential. This club was plus 56. One of the highest scoring teams in the league, was number 4 in the league in scoring. Now they say defense wins championships, Dennis. Denver was number 2 in the league in scoring, did not make the playoffs, right?
Correct.
Finished 7-9. Okay. And Houston was number 3, was only 10-6. Saints were number 4, only 10-6. So only one of the 13-3 teams was in the top 5 of the league in scoring. Okay. So bear with me a moment.
Sure.
Only one of the 13-3 teams was top 5 league in scoring, but 4 of the 13-3 teams were in the top 5 of the league in defense. I think it was 12-4, it's top 5 in both. But so four of the five teams with fewest points allowed finished 13-3. Only one of the top 5 teams in offense finished 13-3. So there's an endorsement for the defense for the championship crowd. Although, because no one's won the championships yet, but anyway, defense wins a lot of games crowd, maybe, is a better way to put it. So this team now, we're talking about the Saints under Scott. Number 4 in points scored was more middle of the pack. Number 14 in points allowed, 23.3. Despite a very favorable 58.3 opponent field goal percentage, Dennis. So excellent job by Scott with the defensive special teams of holding his opponents to 58.3 opponent field goals when it's 83.1. That may be one of those things that may not come to pass in the postseason, Dennis. We'll see. Team passing defense was actually not that great. 18th in the league in rating, giving up 232 yards a game, only had 18 sacks and 12 interceptions. Number 2 run defense in the league. Maybe time to score to get a little more pass for Scott. I'm not sure. But there's that team. Okay. And then he's going to square off against NFL Ed's club. 9-7. Wow. Ed dropped 3 of his last 4.
Yeah, I bet you he doesn't have too many quarters in his history of all 3 leagues where he lost 3 or 4. That's an anomaly.
Absolutely. Now, I don't think this was a great team. That's right. I beat him in a close game. 27-24.
He got Peyton Manning from you, right?
Yes, for like a 4th round pick.
Right.
Which was better than nothing.
I
don't want to keep Peyton on my team and accidentally win some games and cost myself Todd Gurley. So, but it's also the rebuild. And we knew Manning was done, so get something instead of nothing. So Ed's team went 9-7. And in terms of points differential, good, Dennis.
He had 2 1,000-yard receivers and another guy with 950. So Delaney Walker, Dwayne Allen, and Brian Quick were teaming well with Peyton Manning this year.
That's correct. So like a lot of the tight ends and the blocking back with the second tight end. He was plus 45 in point differential. He was number 10 in scoring, and he was number 10 in points allowed. So it looks like about 10-6 team. He was 9-7 or 9-7 team. So in terms of scoring,
he's helped out by those stuff. He's helped out by those 7s on the offensive line. -3 turnover differential, which is not Ed's cup of tea. 25 giveaways, probably a lot of picks for Manning, which you'd expect. Yeah, this year's card. Yep. And you got Manning. You got the 3 7s to the offensive line. Only 2 5s running the ball. Ed's been making do with all these workman-like backs like Brandon Oliver, Bilal Powell. We'll call us high. Say what? 3 5s running the ball. He's got Sullivan, Franklin, and Bowmer.
That's right, yeah. And although Carlos Hyde could do big things with Chip Kelly and San Francisco, we'll see Malcolm Floyd, deep threat, Brian Quick, Delaney Walker, Dwayne Allen, who I still regret not getting in the draft. It took him 1 pick ahead of me when he was a rookie. And Manning's interesting because Manning has got a good card, but the picks are problematic, and it's not the dominant short pass card of previous Manning years. You know, the flat pass is great.
And he doesn't have that dominant halfback either to get you to call run, so he can go deep and hit some of those numbers.
Yes, because the long pass wrong is still very 136, very good. 14 units long pass wrong is really nice, and the short pass wrong is still excellent, whereas the right is only like pretty good, and maybe better than I'm saying. There's still 16 completions right, but a higher pick and stuff like that, and Ed likes to run the ball a lot normally, so
Yeah.
Plays a 3-4 defense. Goes 4-5-5 on the front line. Goes 5-6-5-4. At linebacker goes 5-5-5-4. Doesn't have a ton of pass rush. Doesn't have much pass rush at all, actually. But and this is interesting to me. In the past, I feel like Ed's always done great, even with a defense like this on that side of the ball. So to see Ed give up 343 points and be 10th in the league in points allowed. It's surprising. It is more of like
I'm gonna take a quick call. Go ahead, keep talking.
Sure, more of a normal performance, I would say, and maybe that's a sign again of the improved coaching in SSFA, which I think the coaching in SSFA matches the coaching in Sumifa now, basically, in my opinion. And there's a lot of crossover there too, so that's part of the reason why. We mentioned New Orleans. I didn't even look at his personnel. All I did was look at his stats. So I'm going to go back and look at his personnel, especially before I make a prediction. I was going to Andrew Luck. No, he's got Ryan Tannehill. That's right. That was the team we looked at. Ed's got the weak opponent kick coverage. Caleb Sturlich is 2-7-12. So 23-32. Not a great team. It's kind of like Manning is. It's kind of a weird team for Ed. I think he does better with those run the ball, low turnover teams. But here he threw the ball out with Manning. And 63% completed, 4,320 yards, 25 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. So a different type of team for Ed this year. Brendan Oliver right over 1,000 yards. Carlos Hyde 560, but these other guys, Hyde and Powell, only a 4.1 average. And when they're in the game, people are guessing pass. But interesting job to get to 97. That's going to be a strange playoff game. San Francisco, New Orleans. Even though it's Ed, I'm not expecting much out of these teams beyond the wild card round. I think Houston is your only wild card team that's more of a serious threat to one of the top 5 clubs in a second round matchup. Although I guess St. Louis is going to play against the 4 seed. That'll be Oakland, I believe. So that's an interesting game. I'll try to call that one if I can. That's like your first game. Well, you got Nathan at 12-4. That's like your first game with 2 real good teams there. Well, if Houston advances, it'll be interesting to see them play against maybe the 2 or 3 seed. Looks like Jacksonville, maybe. Dennis said. So did San Francisco play against New Orleans in the regular season? Let's see. Looks like they did not play. So I'm going to make a prediction for this game. San Francisco, New Orleans. Boy, I'm going to go, San Fran on the road with Manning. But it's Ed. The other guy got Tannehill on those backs. I like New Orleans club slightly better. But I'm going to go with the experience. I'm going to predict Ed in overtime, 2017 over Scott. NFL Ed in overtime, 2017 over Scott. And with Dennis taking a call, that pretty much wraps up this part of the show. I would like to say that if we look at the league leaders, as you're watching live, clicking and waiting, very exciting, I know. I can't even end the show because Dennis is on the phone and he's hosting this thing. But
I'm here. So who did you pick for the San Francisco?
I went with the experience. I took NFL Ed over Scott 20-17 in overtime.
Okay, let me write that down. So 2017 in overtime.
Yeah. I like you to write down these predictions and then lose them immediately.
So San Francisco 20. New Orleans 17, right?
Yeah. Why don't you try opening a folder called SSFA in my documents? You may find it helpful, but good.
You're so nice. I'm glad that you've taken care of this yourself and are writing these things down. Come on now.
Well, you're the predictions guy. I put all the stats together. Not to mention, not to mention the nature of my disability would make that hard.
All right, all right. Okay, I'm gonna go New Orleans 24, San Francisco 17.
Alrighty, and I was just looking at some final regular season stats real quick as we're done with the playoff preview. Flacco led the league in passing touchdowns, 34. Russell Wilson second with 32. Breeze number one in quarterback rating. You had 5 quarterbacks 90 or better. Breeze, Wilson, Tannehill, nice job by Scott. Big Ben and the Nick Foles, great job by Randy, 91.2. Aaron Rodgers had
round 2 playoff predictions.
I'm sorry?
Do you want to do the next round playoff predictions? I have it worked out.
All right, sure. Let me finish these stats real quick. Your stats for losers, as you say. But Matt Ryan was almost traded. This show would have gone a lot differently if the trade had gone through because my Jets would be up there and the other guys would not have some of my players. But led the league in passing yards, 4,500 yards basically. Manning second, 43. Only Manning and Flacco were the only 2 guys in the top 7, only 2 quarterbacks in passing yards that made the playoffs. Flacco and Peyton had 8-yard average gains, which was nice. I want to get out Jarvis Landry, 122 catches, but only like an 8-yard average I saw. And I wanted to get down to the rushing because DeMarco Murray for Denver. Is that Renee? I really like when my broadcast partner just disappears in the middle of the show without telling me. But Denver, that is Renee. Thanks, Dennis, for nothing. But DeMarco Murray had 451 carries for Renee. Led the league in carries. Led the league in rushing, average 6.1. Led the league in touchdowns, 21, and had 2,773 yards of rushing, which I'm pretty sure shatters the old record. I think AP was around 2,500. And Dennis, thanks again for disappearing without telling me as I threw it to you for a question.
You're soon to be married.
And all I heard was
you're soon to be married, so you'll learn quick enough that the spouse is the boss, and you got to answer the phone when the boss calls. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you were off your phone call because you came back and gave a prediction. All of a sudden you disappeared again. But okay.
Oh, got cut off. The call got cut off. So.
Okay. All right. So you're saying that we already have some second round matchups. Okay.
Based on who we predict will win, the second round will be.
No, I'm not going to do that.
No, based on.
No. I'm not going to. No, I'll predict St. Louis and Oakland, which you already know, and I'll predict Arizona at whoever they're playing. But I'm not going to predict San Francisco at the guy when they hasn't won yet.
Why not?
I think that's silly.
Well, we know. Okay, that's.
We could pick a champion. But look, all right, we'll predict St. Louis and Oakland, and we'll predict Arizona at Atlanta.
Okay.
That won't take long.
So we're not going to have.
And then we predict a champion.
Yeah, but look at let's predict the whole playoffs based on who you think is going to win, just like you do, like for like a Super Bowl or playoff prediction. It's not always going to work out that way, but let's just see who gets the more games.
You mean sort of like a March Madness bracket?
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't have to be perfect.
There's only one problem with that.
We'll have different brackets. I know.
I don't do March Madness brackets.
Oh, okay. So
I don't find the enterprise appealing, but if I'm forced to do it, I guess I'll do it. Okay. But anyway, can we predict the games we'd actually know who's playing first? How about St. Louis and Oakland?
St. Louis and Oakland. Okay.
St. Louis on the road against the number 2 defense in the league by a hair. Oakland's got Big Ben. They got Robert Turbin's going to be dangerous. They got 3 sevens on the offensive line, which will hurt against Nathan's blitzing style.
Okay.
I don't think Oakland likes to go downtown too much with the offense, though. I think the running game is going to be strong, as he's got a 6 at right guard. He's got all 5s otherwise, and then a 4 at the tackle spot. I bet he goes blocking back with that 6, kind of traditional, and he's got Ingram there too. He's got this 4-3 defense. That goes 5-5-5-6. The 4-5-6 there. Now, interesting that he's now looking at the other side of it. Ron's got the corner sixes, and Nathan's got the downfield passing game to Deshaun Jackson and Jordy Nelson. You know, he's got the free safety 4. If he sits him back there, he can get hit with some defensive back in zones. If he gets rid of him, there's more receiver readings and long gains on the men. So I'd say you're only going to get rid of him if you're going to get past, probably. Nathan's got Jamal Charles, who I think might be the difference maker in this game. Boy, this is a tough one to call, which you'd expect. 12-4, 13-3. I like Nathan in this game. I think close. I'm gonna go 23-21. See it, St. Louis over Oakland.
All right, I had 27-24.
Who do you have winning?
With St. Louis winning.
We both like Nathan's game. Nothing against Ron. These are two very good teams and very good coaches, but you got to pick somebody, right?
Yep. And I think you're right. The story will happen because of the guess wrong. The running of Jamal Charles forcing him to guess run and hitting some of those big guys going against the sixes. So we'll see.
Okay. Now we got Arizona at Atlanta, correct?
Yes, correct.
Battle of the A's.
Yes.
Now we looked at Arizona team, looked at Atlanta team. I don't think we need to look again.
No.
I'm going to predict. Did they? No, we didn't look at Seattle. Did St. Louis? St. Louis and Oakland played in the regular season. It was a 17-12 victory for the Rams.
Wow.
I wonder how many. Yeah, and first quarter of the season, and Nathan had 3 sacks in that game.
Well, and 3 yards rushing for Mark Ingram.
Jamal Charles 23 for 138 with a touchdown, and Kenny Britt had a 41-yard touchdown reception for the Rams. Maybe there was injury to put him in the field.
Yeah, Deshaun Jackson.
Or now don't forget now. Nathan will go 3 wide sometimes. Maybe he'll like that matchup in this game. Although maybe to get that extra defensive back 4 or something on a decent target him to Kenny Britt. I don't know. And you can run Charles for the 3 wide with the guest right. He's still good guest right. So that'll be interesting if Nathan uses that at some point. Arizona, Atlanta, do they play in the regular season? And does it matter? Where is it? I don't know. I'm looking.
Nope.
They did not. No, they did not play. I'm going to say. I like Atlanta, Dennis.
Yep.
And I'm going to say 30-14.
Okay. I will go Atlanta 24. Arizona 10.
I'm going to take the over on that 24, Dennis. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Okay. Then now, since you want to play
30-14, got it. Okay.
30-14, yeah. Now, since you want to play, what if?
So Houston will play at Jacksonville. We both predicted Houston to win. And I think we're fairly confident in that.
Why don't I tell Randy? Too short, but we predicted Houston to win. I think is saying enough. And so then it'll be Houston at Jacksonville. So now I'm not going to look up Jay's team again. I remember what the hell.
This is Houston. Houston has all those numbers and they just fell short of falling into that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know Houston and Jacksonville will be home. Carson Palmer, Mike Lennon on the bench in case they need him. CJ Anderson. He's got the real good run defense. He's going against Brady. He's looking at 5-4 the corners. He's got a good pass rush, but Houston's got the good. Defending champion Jay hosting, and Brad a former champion. I'm gonna go for Houston. I'm gonna go for the upset. I'm gonna pick you. I don't like I don't like Jay's running game against Houston defense. I think is going to be the issue. And I'll go with. Did they play the regular season? No, they did not. So I'm going to go 2017, Houston over Jacksonville.
Okay. I will go Jacksonville in this one, and it'll be a little bit of a barn burner for these two teams. I'm going to go Jacksonville 28, Houston 27. So it'll be a really good game
Nice.
to come down to the.
Yep. I'm going to have to try to call a lot of these games. Marriage be damned. You know, hopefully no one plays until it's Tuesday.
Yeah,
But,
put it into a prenuptial agreement.
say what?
Yeah, put it into a prenuptial agreement that you get to call strap
I get
football
to call
games.
football games whenever I want, yes. Yeah, I don't think she would sign that stipulation. We'll see. But so then I would have, now here we would differ. I would have the Niners going to Seattle, and you would have the Saints going to Seattle, right?
Right. It would be the Tannehill-Wilson Bowl. The two guys traded for each other.
Well, they weren't traded. They were, yeah. Well, he got other things, so it's like a straight up trade. But I think you're in good shape. But now the matchup, I think, and this is where the number 1 seed serves you well. You get to avoid Houston, and you certainly get to avoid St. Louis. You were in a 4-way tie. You could have possibly played Nathan. I'm gonna go. And his defense been struggling more this year than usual. I'm gonna go Seattle 28, San Francisco 16.
Okay. I will go Seattle.
Now you'd be playing against New Orleans, who you beat 38-33 back in week 2.
Right. So I'll go Seattle 35. I'll say New Orleans 30.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. And now then, I don't know if you're following the brackets too well. I think my final 4 then would be
your final 4 would be
it would be you against it would be Houston at Seattle.
Yep.
And St. Louis at Atlanta, right?
Correct.
Houston at Seattle. Who's your running back again?
Terrence
West.
Terrence West and Frank Gore.
You're playing a 4-3?
3-4 with Don Terry Poe.
And you got all right. That's not. Is it? You have 2 6s at linebacker or no? Against the pass?
Yes.
Houston, Seattle. I'm gonna go. Seattle. I'll pick you for 28 points again. Slightly better defenses in the postseason. I'll go Seattle 28, Houston 17.
Wow, great.
As you make the Super Bowl.
That sounds good. I'll sign up for that. And how about St. Louis at Atlanta?
And then St. Louis at Atlanta. Who's mixed quarterback again?
Breeze, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. It'll be interesting. A little more West Coast versus a little more big play.
Right.
I think the difference in quarterback, I think Flacco's going to let Nathan down here. I'm going to go for, even though Mick has Matt Prater, I'm going to go for the Falcons. I'm going to say Atlanta 24, St. Louis 17. That semifinal, which would set up an Atlanta-Seattle Super Bowl for me, right?
Right.
And which is a replay of that game that you lost earlier. And I'm going to pick Mick to win the whole thing. I take this, but Matt Prater be damned. I'm going to go.
The game-winning field goal.
Yeah, 2-6, 11, 12. On 4th and 8 from the 27. I'm going to go Atlanta 28. I got you, barn burner. I'll go Atlanta 28, Seattle 27.
Nice.
Hold on. No, I'm going to go Atlanta 28. Yeah, Atlanta 28, Seattle 27.
Okay, so that's your bracket completed.
Yes.
And for me, my bracket would be a little bit different from the
hold on, which, by the way, I think doing it this way, yeah, I ended with a different champion than I may have ended up with if I just looked at the teams and chose a champion.
Right.
which is why I think I prefer doing it the other way. But good.
Okay. So I would have Jacksonville at Jacksonville and Atlanta would play the 2-3 seeds, and I would have St. Louis at Seattle. So if that would happen, I would go Seattle beating St. Louis 30-28, and then I would go Jacksonville and Atlanta, the gentleman's agreement game. I think I'll go with Jacksonville again. I'll have them winning 28-24. And then the Super Bowl would be Seattle-Jacksonville. And I will go with Jacksonville winning it 28-27. I'll go with the same score.
Back to back for Jay and his third championship overall. Now that we did, it's a good thing that Dennis keeping track of all this, because obviously this way we can look back at it.
Let me share the screen here, so in case I don't share it, then we can laugh at me. So there's the predictions. I think you should laugh at me.
Now I'm going to do the other way. Since you made me do the bracket, I'm just going to tell you who I think is going to be the champion.
Okay.
I'm going to go going the bracket way, I ended up with Atlanta. But right now, there's no, but just saying who do I think is going to win the Super Bowl, now looking at the brackets, I cannot pick Atlanta because of Matt Prater. And we'll hurt him in a big spot. Who I like to win the Super Bowl? I like the Seahawks. I think you're going to win the Super Bowl, Dennis. SSFA.
I like my chances a lot better in Psalms Club, but if I was going to pick a champion, I think I'll stick with Jacksonville. I think that.
Okay. I thought you were going to pick yourself. Well, last year I picked myself, and I'm not known for that. And, of course, I made it to the Super Bowl, but I lost to Mike Glenn in 1916, which will be burned in my memory forever. But so you did not call your own shot this time. Okay. So it's Seattle. For me, Jacksonville, for you, based upon just picking a champion, but based upon bracket, I got Atlanta, and you got Jacksonville. You're doubling down on Jacksonville. Double down.
Yep.
Vince Vaughn style and swingers. And I got them. All right, now, so that wraps up our show pretty much. And I have a quick question for you. Dennis and his children. Now, first of all, how many Crowley offspring are there?
4.
3 boys and 1 girl?
Yes, the fearsome foursome.
All right, so a little unsettling that you had to pause. And that's right. Yes, I have 3 boys and 1 girl. I would have thought you would have.
I'm trying to save this damn file so I don't get made fun of again.
Dennis, what is Russell Wilson's uniform number?
3.
All right, how come you could answer that question faster than the gender composition of your children? That's not troubling, I would say. But I guarantee you, I don't know Geno Smith's uniform number quite as quickly. I think he's 7. I try to blocking that from my memory. Now, Dennis has 4 children. How old's your oldest?
17.
Oh wow! I didn't realize that. I realized that the Crowleys reached that high already. Okay. You and your children had really not seen any, or many certainly, of the Marvel Cinematic Universe superhero movies.
Yes.
And we spoke about this because I think we did our last show in early May when Captain America: Civil War was coming out.
Yes.
Due to very strong reviews. And then and we discussed it. And you had not seen them. So then we exchanged emails. I told you which movies to watch. And in the ensuing weeks and months, you and your children have seen probably at least 5 or 6 of these MCU Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Is that correct? Superhero movies.
Funny, I can't find some other things, but because it's on my phone, here's the movies that Tom recommended I see with my kids. So Iron Man 1, Captain America 1.
Hold on. Let me say, the idea was which movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe should Dennis and his children watch to give them enough familiarity with the universe and the characters leading up to Captain America: Civil War. Yeah. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, so I've read the comic books when I was a kid, but superhero movies is not really a favorite thing with my wife. We've watched a couple of the X-Men movies. So the kids really hadn't been exposed to too many of the superhero movies outside of those X-Men movies. And
all right, so what were the superhero movies I recommended?
So we got Iron Man 1, Captain America. Okay, Iron Man 1 we saw. We loved it. It was fun. we watch everything here on the Netflix or Hulu or whatever, HBO Go. So Iron Man 1 we loved. Captain America 1, that was my favorite. I thought that was fantastic, with Chris Evans as Captain America. It was funny seeing him because we wound up watching some of the Fantastic Four movies where he was the Human Torch. So we saw him one superhero to another. Captain America 2, The Winter Soldier, have not seen that yet.
Oh boy, that's one of the best ones.
Avengers 2, we saw that, very good. Avengers 1 we saw, very good. And we also watched Iron Man 2 and 3. So we went off the board for a couple of others.
Okay.
Tom didn't recommend that.
I'm glad you watched Iron Man 2 because you got an introduction to the Black Widow, who's an important character.
Yes, and she was great. And we watched them all fight together in the Avengers movie where the aliens came down. And,
yes, Avengers 1.
Yeah, so that was a fun one.
All right, now, did you culminate all of this? Were you able to or able to not culminate all this with a trip to the cinema to go see Civil War?
Guess what? We are headed to watch that Civil War with the boys. Now, my oldest has already seen Civil War. He liked it a lot.
Okay.
But I'm taking the younger boys and my daughter to go watch it tomorrow afternoon, so I can report back on how that movie is the next podcast.
But
theaters here, believe it or not.
Yeah, I think it's still out a little bit because it did well. So in general, you have had a favorable view of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes, absolutely.
Did you see Ant-Man?
No. Should I?
Yes, that was very entertaining. It was almost more like a comedy. But
okay.
You and the kids would like that. Ideally, if I had known you would see these and you had not seen Civil War yet, I would have said ideally you would see Ant-Man before Civil War, so you have a little familiarity with his character. But I wouldn't say it's a deal breaker.
Well, I'll check out the on-demand to see if we can.
Maybe you can watch it during breakfast.
There you go.
All right, Dennis. So we're done here, right?
Yep, sounds good. Thanks, everybody. I will put the link up, and then what I will do as punishment for myself, I will go back and listen to the mid-season show, get the predictions, stick them in the thread as well. So that might not be up for a couple days, but at one point I will put the predictions online and email you.
Yeah. You don't have to email me. Just put them in the thread.
Got it.
And you were the executive producer. You were the producer of the show, so you have to do the editing.
There's my producer.
So you have to do the ending of the show, and of course we'll probably have a Strat ratings show out when they release the ratings in October.
Yeah, exactly. I will do my best to be available. It's going to be tough because I'm going for my master's degree. I start another class next week, so that's going to take up some of my time. But
now this will be a master's degree in advanced strat football coaching, I believe.
Absolutely.
You chose your own program, and the first class is introduction to safety blitzing.
Yeah, we have a kinetics class taught by Russell Wilson on how to escape the blitz. Then we have a Pete Carroll, how to chew gum and spit it out while you're coaching, which is this semester. And then we'll wind up with a little beast mode about how to do post-game interviews. So I'm looking forward to it.
There you go. Yeah. I teach a social media class. Not social media, whatever, media relations. So,
yeah, exactly.
But so Dennis, if Strat ever decides to release the ratings, and I'll text you, and if you're not around, maybe I'll do a solo show. If you, Dan Morin wants to be involved. Mike Stucci would want to be involved. So those are some guys that if I'm not around, you can grab to jump on with you. They'd be good contributors, and maybe we can do a Stratapalooza at some point. I should be available in the evenings for a couple of hours, depending on what day they release it. So we'll see. Okay, Stratapalooza being like or many talking heads.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now actually, that reminds me. I forgot all about I didn't play Battle Royale this year because I said I wanted to focus on a personal relationship, which has, I guess, worked out well. That was a good call. Well, for now, we'll see. We'll see how. Yes, we'll see when the divorce rolls around whether it was still a good call. But those guys, I forgot that you had done a Battle Royale post-draft show with New Blood, so I need to listen to that. Was that Dan and Mike Stucci on there?
You know, it's been so long, I can't remember. I know I did. I know Dan was on there. I don't know if Mike was on there too. Can we rewind? Yes, both of them were on there. Mike, and Dan did it.
I remember emailing with Mike something about doing a show and him being interested in stuff like that. So okay, all right, Dennis. I'll talk to you later, and you'll sign up for us, right?
Yep. And are we going to do something for SSFA since we're both going to be high seeds in that one?
I don't know. You know, I have a lot of history at SSFA. I wanted to do something SSFA. SSFA I don't have much history in, and I might actually drop SSFA again. As I try to pare down because of being married and wanted to do some writing projects that I've been trying to work on for quite some time.
Don't do it, Tom.
You know.
I was trying. There should be like a boo one. Boo, boo.
Yes, there should be something negative. So, all right. So we'll see what. So I would say I doubt we're gonna do a SSFA show, but you never know. I didn't think I was gonna do an SSFA show. Then I took a nap this afternoon and slept through my finale with Jason Owens. I was supposed to play Jason Owens in the season finale, and I stood him up, which is terrible. And I don't think he's too happy with me, and nor should he be. The fiance was supposed to wake me up, and I guess she decided not to. I looked too peaceful sleeping. So that when I found out, I just had one thing to say to her. But Jason doesn't want to hear it because I stood him up another time, which is not like me, but crazy time in my life. All right, I'll talk to you later, Dennis.
Okay, we'll try to get that game in so we can meet in the championship. I want to see a Tom and Dennis Super Bowl.
Well, let's see if I can win a couple playoff games first. I want to put the cart before the horse. I have a feeling that team is not going to make it to the Super Bowl. I've had that feeling from day one about that team.
You know, that's the thing about all these predictions we've done and what's going to happen in SSFA when we have good teams.
I've always been right.
A couple of injuries here and there, and it's bye-bye, Dennis, bye-bye, Tom.
Well, not always injuries. I mean, you're playing against a good team, playing against a good coach. The guy could do a good job, and or I could do a bad job or something.
Yeah, I don't feel.
I lost a real good SSFA. I lost a playoff game with a real good SSFA team. Yes, I had 5 turnovers, but I don't think I coached that well in that game either. So
yeah, and that's the thing is with this team in the SSFA, I feel a little bit fortunate to get that #1 seed because otherwise, if I had to fight through all those 13-3 teams in order to make the championship game, I'd be in big trouble. But as it stands, I'm going to get lucky and face a lower seed. But you know what? Getting lucky and facing NFL Ed is never a good thing. And Scott is a heck of a coach too. So
yeah, but Russell Wilson and Terrence West and a good defense, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, unless those guys get injured. Or penalties, or turnovers.
Yes, if all 3 of them get injured and you have penalties and turnovers, you'll probably lose.
Well, that's it. We'll be signing off and thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you guys next week for the ratings show.
Don't forget to post it. All right, later, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah.